see you all here just to take care of a couple of housekeeping issues before we get started. Most of you all have found a restroom straight back in this door behind me. You go all the way out the hallway, go to the right. It's kind of tucked back in the corner, kind of hiding from you there. We do have coffee and donuts and drinks and bananas and granola bars and all kinds of stuff up here. That's for you guys, so help yourself. We will probably not take a lot of breaks, but I'm not a big believer also in making a guy sit there and suffer if we went too long. So if I start seeing people squirming around a little bit, act like you need a break, then we're going to take a break. I've only taught this class one time, okay? I'll give you a few disclaimers right out of the gate here. I've only taught this class one time. It was in South Carolina last week to our office down there, and it took me about 4.5 hours, okay? So the length of the duration of this class depends on a lot of the conversations that we get into, the questions we get into, that type of thing. But just so your planning purposes for your day, you guys have some idea of what's going on. It's about a 4.5 hour class here. The other disclaimer I will give, I do not have a CDL, all right? Myself, like you, I'm going through the process to get my CDL, and I'll talk about why here in a minute. I've got my DOT physical scheduled for next week, and then probably a week or two after that, I'm going to be doing like you all are doing right now. I'll be looking for a DMV to go take my general knowledge test and get the ball rolling. So with that being said, my first time teaching it, I don't have a CDL. You guys are all confident now, right, that everything I'm going to say is going to be totally accurate. I'm going to make mistakes, okay? There's going to be some things that you guys might ask that I might not have the answer to today, okay? If you do have one of those questions, I believe in getting you the right answer, not necessarily the fast answer, but the right answer. So I'll take that information down, take your name down, and I'll try to find the right answer, and I'll get it to you, okay? Because this is a pretty big subject matter. So why you're here for? It's a CDL Assistance Program, and basically what this class is the first step in the process of getting a CDL. So what that means is there anybody here that has a learner's permit, commercial learner's permit, or is everybody just an operator? Okay, that's good. Because what you are doing now on this first step is you are gaining the knowledge and the information necessary to go to the DMV to take the general knowledge test, which is going to be a written test, which we all know now nothing's written, right? It's going to be on the computer. You're going to take a test, and you're going to get your commercial learner's permit if you pass those tests, okay? It takes an 80% to pass those tests. Once you get your commercial learner's permit, you will go into the next phase of our program, which the next phase of our program is to get you ready as a driver to be able to do the things in a commercial motor vehicle, a CDL required commercial motor vehicle, that you need to be able to do to get your CDL, all right? And that's going to be, that test is called the skills test, okay? So you got the knowledge test, which is the written test, which is what we're prepping you for today, to get your learner's permit. Once you get your learner's permit, you're going to get with Jet Dealer, or you're going to get with somebody in your division, maybe closer to home to you, that is a good CDL driver that can help you with backing and parking and all the things you're going to have to know how to do. Once you feel confident in your driving and in your walk around and the other parts of the skills test, then you're going to schedule, or you're going to call me and I'll schedule it for you, your skills test. Okay, how many Indiana folks we got in here? How many Kentucky folks we got in here? Okay, 2 different states, little different processes. Okay, each one of them. In Kentucky, the state troopers do the skills test. All right. So now, not only are you nervous from having to do all this stuff in a big truck, now you got a state trooper sitting next to you watching you do all of it, right? So it's a little different in Kentucky. Indiana, we have certified testing sites, okay, if you will. We have places where you go where it's not the state troopers, it's a private business, private instructors, and they will run you through the skills test and say you passed it or you failed it. All right, so both of those are a little bit different. If your license is in Kentucky, obviously don't go to the Indiana DMV to take your commercial learner's permit test, all right? You're going to have to go to Kentucky DMV, you're going to have to take their test. Indiana, same way, you're going to have to take it here in Indiana. I don't know how it is in Kentucky. In Indiana, you can just show up, all right, and take a test. You don't have to schedule it. As long as you don't show up in the last hour of business, you can just show up and say, I want to take the commercial learner's permit, to tell them what ones you want to take, which I'll get into that. You'll go in, you'll take it. What if I fail? All right, nobody in here is going to fail, okay? But what if something happens you do? What if I fail? You come back and take it again, okay? In Indiana, it doesn't cost you anything to take those knowledge tests. Kentucky, I don't know. But you can just show up and take it, and if you fail it, they won't let you take it right then. Usually they'll make you wait till the next business day, and then you can come back in and take it again. We're going to ask you, highly recommend to you that you take 4 knowledge tests. That's what we're going to prep you for today. Obviously, everybody takes the general knowledge test, okay? Everybody takes that. It doesn't matter if you're Class A, Class B, whatever you are, you're going to take a general knowledge test. Since you guys will all be going for a Class A, I hope, you will take the combination test, okay? That's the second test you will take. The third test you will take, which will be shorter because it's not as many pages in the book, not as much material we're going to cover today, will be air brake. Okay, there's no reason for you to get your Class A combination and not have air brake, all right? Because the majority of the stuff you're ever going to be driving is going to have air brakes, okay? So you want to get that air brake endorsement. The fourth test we're going to ask you to take, and I don't know, it depends on your form and how hard they want to push you to take this one. I would recommend it, is the tanker endorsement. The tanker endorsement in that book in front of you covers 3 pages. That's it, okay? So they don't have much material to ask you questions over in the tanker endorsement. I mean, there may only be 10, 15 questions there. So I would recommend you take the tanker endorsement because we all know that we do have some trucks that have big tanks on them that hold water, and you know, someday down the road you may wish you had that, and it's kind of an easy thing to get, so I would want to go ahead and do the tanker endorsement also. So you're going to take those tests. Once you get passing scores on those tests, you're going to get issued a commercial learner's permit. That commercial learner's permit is going to be good for 6 months. All right, so in that 6-month period, somewhere in there, you need to practice, become proficient enough, get comfortable enough that you're ready to go pass that skills test, all right? And then we will set you up, or you can set yourself up, however you guys want to do it, and we'll get you scheduled for that skills test. Now, the skills test, if you fail it, you can't do it the same day again, a retest. You have to wait. They may make you wait a couple of days before you can come back up and attempt that again. So just don't be too hard on yourself because it is very rare for anyone to go in the first time and pass these tests, okay? Especially the skills test. It's a really rare thing for somebody to go in there and just totally ace it and hit it the first time. So anyway, we'll get into this. Got a lot of material. Got about 220 slides up here, okay? If you guys have questions, just blurt it out, raise your hand, whatever, kind of informal, and I'll try to answer those questions for you, okay? Go ahead, back row.
Who gets our time for this?
Do what?
Who gets our time for this? Who we put our time for?
You'll have to talk to your foreman.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not sure on that. So here we go. We're going to take off and get started here. Training goal. This training is designed to provide the applicant with the information needed to pass the written general knowledge tests at the State Department of Motor Vehicles. And like we just talked about, passing those tests is required before you can have a CLP. You're going to hear that a lot today, that little 3-letter acronym, CLP, Commercial Learner's Permit. Okay, that's what it takes to get a CLP, is to pass those tests. I broke this down into a few different training modules. We're going to talk about CLPs. We're going to talk about CDL facts. We're going to talk about safe driving, transporting cargo, air brakes, combination vehicles, the walk around or pre-trip inspections. We're going to do a practice test as a group towards the end. There are a lot of outstanding resources on the internet for taking practice tests. You can get any state that you want to. So you can get Kentucky's practice test. You can take it as many times as you want to. It's a really good resource, and I'll show you at the end. I got a link on there. I'll show you all that you can go on and you can take practice tests. I would highly recommend you do that. We're going to take one as a group at the end of the day. During each of these modules, after each section, there will be a segment called Test Your Knowledge. Okay, and you're going to see that in your book, and I would recommend that you highlight those as we go along, because if you guys remember in school, where the teacher would be like, wink, wink, nod, nod, you may see this on the test. That's kind of what Test Your Knowledge section is in the book in the manual, okay? They are kind of telling you that, hey, you might want to know this, because there's probably going to be something on the general knowledge test about it. So commercial learner's permit. Again, what's required to get my CLP? We talked about you have to have a passing score, which is 80%. knowledge test, right? You have to have a valid operator's license, and you need to go pass your DOT physical, okay? So you need to have those things done to get your CLP. General knowledge tests, we talked about those already, the different types there are. I put doubles and triples. I wouldn't bother with that. I don't think there's ever going to be a time that you guys need to use doubles and triples unless you just think that you want to try to go ahead and get it, you can. I think it's a pretty short section in the book, so there's probably not a lot of questions. So after I get my commercial learner's permit, you're going to attend phase 2 of the training, which is going to be teaming up if you're here close to the payola office or if you just want to come this way. We have a test truck and a test trailer here at the office. Jet Dillon is going to be the point of contact for doing the training with you. We have secured a large parking lot here in Paoli to utilize for training. So we've already had some guys go through it. What's going to happen is you'll schedule that through Jed. You'll say, hey, I need to practice the skills test, the driving, the parking, the backing, and all that. And then we take you out to this parking lot where nobody else can see you. So if you're messing up or having a rough time, it's kind of out away from everything. But you're going to practice your backing and your parking, and parallel parking, and all those things you need to practice until you are confident that you can pass that test. Now, if you live here close, I would say probably I'll stretch it into Kentucky also. You could actually utilize our test vehicle for your testing, our practice vehicle for your skills test. So you would want to reserve that ahead of time, say, hey, October the 12th, I scheduled my skills test in Kentucky. Can I come up and get the truck and trailer, and can I test with it? I would recommend that you test in the vehicle that you've obviously been practicing in. You're going to be familiar with it, you're going to be familiar with things are at, you're going to be familiar with the driving of it, the steering, and all the different things, and it's just going to make things a lot less stressful when you do that. So, what a CLP does, it allows you to operate a commercial, a CDL required commercial motor vehicle under certain restrictions, okay? I want to make sure I cover this. When you get your commercial learner's permit, I get asked all the time, does that mean I can drive a CDL required commercial motor vehicle? And the answer is maybe. If you have a CDL holder for that same class of vehicle, okay, so if I've got a truck and a trailer, and my trailer is over 10,000 pounds, and my GCWR on that whole rig is over 26,000, that's a Class A required vehicle. If I have a valid Class A holder that is sitting next to me in the passenger seat and observing me drive, then the answer is yes. I can drive that CDL required vehicle with a permit because I've got someone seated next to me that's got a CDL for that vehicle, okay? It does not give you the right for any distance at any time for any reason to drive it by yourself, okay? The only exception to that would be we're out on this parking lot on private property that's closed off to the public and you're practicing, okay? Then at that point, you know, we can have you do your practicing there with Jed observing you from the outside. So just be sure that you're aware of that when you have your commercial learner's permit. It does not give you the right to go out by yourself and drive a CDL required commercial motor vehicle. Obviously, getting the CLP qualifies you to pursue the CDL, which is what we're ultimately trying to do at the end of this process. You've got to wait a minimum of 14 days before taking the skills test, okay? So when you have that CLP issued to you for 2 weeks, you can't go take the skills test yet, okay? They make you wait 14 days, which you're going to need that anyway, because you're going to want some time to practice, to get familiar and with the process so you can go in and pass the skills test. In most states, CLP is only valid for 6 months, all right? We talked about that. Some states, it can be extended. All right, they will extend it like once, but it's only good for 6 months. So what that means is this, is when you get your CLP here next week or two, you need to set a deadline somewhere 6 months out, and you need to say to yourself, hey, I've got till this date, I have got to have my CDL, I've got to practice the skills test stuff, I've got to go pass my skills test, and I have to get my CDL. I'll talk a little bit about the changes that are coming through the federal regulations before we jump into the CDLs here. Obviously, we've got a big push to get CDL drivers right now. That's the entire country. I mean, you guys go on vacation, you drive down the highway, you're going to work, start looking at the back of the trailers and start looking at billboards. We need Class A CDL drivers. There is a huge shortage In February 7th, 2020, the federal regs will change on the process of getting a CDL. Okay, the way it stands now, without getting too far in the weeds, the way it stands right now, we can do a lot of this training in-house like we're doing today. We can practice with you, we can get you prepared to get your CLP, we can go out on a parking lot, we can practice the driving aspect of it with you, the walk around, we can get you guys all ready to pass your skills test. There's only one requirement after you get your CDL that we have to fulfill as your employer. Within a year of having your CDL, we have to send you guys through, and we can do this in-house right now as it stands, called entry-level driver training, okay? Within the first year you have your CDL, you guys are going to get an email from me, and you have to come back in. It's going to be a short training that covers 4 areas, all right? But I have to, by federal regulations, give you what's called entry-level driver training. That's how things are now. That's how it's been for quite a while. February the 7th, 2020, the FMCSA has said, from now on, an entry-level driver is someone who wants to get a CDL, a CLP, and a CDL. Okay, so what that means is, after February 7th, where you guys are sitting at now, you guys will be entry-level drivers. And what that means to Electricom is I couldn't do the training. Okay, you guys wouldn't be sitting here. After February 7th, you would be sitting at a registered training provider, which is going to be most likely like your CDL schools that do it for a living. And you're going to be sitting there for about 4 or 5 weeks. It's going to cost a few $1,000s. All right? That's just at the point you say, hey, me, I want to get my CDL. They're going to say, okay, entry-level driver, you got to go to a registered training provider, and that's how you get your CDL. Okay, so it's going to change big time, guys, and that's why we are trying to get ahead of the curve right now. The process is still the way it is now, where we can work you through this. We are trying to do that in-house now. Okay, so it's very, very important that you all know that by February 7th, you have one of 2 things in your hand. You either have your CDL, which that's obviously our top priority by February 7th, because then you ain't got anything to worry about, you're done. Or you at minimum have a commercial learner's permit in your hand. Okay? If you have one of those 2 things come February 7th in your hand, then you are grandfathered into the way it is right now. If February 7th hits and you're sitting how you are today, you got an operator's in your hand, getting a CDL is going to be a lot more difficult. It's going to be more time consuming, it's going to cost more money, it's going to be a whole lot harder to do. All right, so just want to make sure you guys understand what the regulation is and why we're trying to offer this and get as many people obtaining their CDLs as we can. A little bit about CDLs for you. What does it mean, and what does it give me a right to drive, or why do I have to have it for? Class A, which is what we're going after. I hope everybody in here is going after a Class A combination. That's what you should do, because what that does is you can drive anything. Okay, as long as it's not hazmat placarded, as long as it's not a passenger carrier, anything you want to drive, you can drive once you get that Class A, as long as you're not restricted from something. So a Class A is a combination vehicle, a gross combination weight rating or a gross combination weight of 26,001 pounds or more, whichever is greater, inclusive of a tow unit with a GVWR or a GVW of over 10,000. Okay, so if you're like me, look at all these GVWRs, GCWRs, and all this stuff, and you think you're in chemistry class somewhere. I'm going to put it in layman's terms for you, okay? The gross combination weight rating of a combination is adding the gross vehicle weight ratings together, okay? You can get it that way. Or, from an enforcement perspective, if you get stopped at the side of the road, they can physically weigh your truck, physically weigh your trailer, and say, this is you have to have a CDL. Okay, let me give you a quick example. Let's say that you drive a 14,000-pound truck and you pull a 11,000-pound trailer, okay, by GVWR. Okay, that's, you know what GVWR is, right? It's on a federal label. It's usually on the truck. It's inside the door. It tells you what the manufactured weight rating is, right? Gross vehicle weight rating. Say it's 14,000 pounds in your truck. Now, let's say you go back to the trailer and you look on the tongue and there's a federal label there. It's got a GVWR. It's going to say 11,000 pounds. 14 to 11, 25,000, right? So in my mind, I'm thinking I don't have to have a CDL, right? I'm below 26,000, right? I'm at 25,000 pounds, so I'm thinking I don't have to have a CDL. What happens is this. You guys load that thing up with a mini excavator, you put a bunch of material in the bed of the truck, you got guys and equipment and all kinds of stuff there. You drive across the scales, and all of a sudden, your combination weighs over 26,000. Okay, so GBWR, I'm below. Physical weight, I'm over. Do I have to have CDL? I have to have a CDL. Remember that enforcement officers can go by either one of those two things, okay? So you guys might drive something, I hope nobody in here is, but you might be driving something that when you add up the GBWRs, you're like, I'm fine, but you load it up with a bunch of stuff, and now you drive over the scales, and guess what? You're north of 26,000 pounds, and your trailer's north of 10,000 pounds, you're gonna have to have a Class A CDL. Follow me on that? Okay,
Get a ticket for that?
absolutely. Some states you can be jailed for no CDL. Indiana used to be a state where you could actually be taken into custody, arrested, and taken to jail for operating a CDL required vehicle without a CDL. I don't know how Kentucky is now, but guys, it's all bad news. You know, it's big fines. It's a big fine for you. It's a big hit for the company on our CSA and our DOT scores. You know, the truck can be impounded because technically they don't have a licensed driver there. It doesn't matter that you got an operator's license, all right? This is a totally different vehicle. It requires a different license. And if you don't have that different license, it's the same as not having a license, all right? So they can impound the truck. There's nothing but bad comes from that, okay? You guys can imagine what would happen to us as a company if we had a CDL required vehicle involved in a serious crash, a serious injury, or worse yet, a fatal, and we've got a driver in there that's got an operator's license, okay, with no CDL. That's not good, right? So for a lot of reasons, we need to make sure that we've got a CDL holder that's qualified to drive that class of vehicle in the driver's seat, and never an exception, except for somebody's got a commercial learner's permit, as long as there's a valid CDL holder with them, all right? That's the only exception. So anyway, that's your Class A, okay? That's what y'all be going for. Class B is called the heavy straight vehicle group. And basically what it means is the vehicle has a gross vehicle weight rating or a gross vehicle weight, okay? Anytime you see gross vehicle weight, that means a physical weight. It's got a GBWR or GBW over 26,000. Your dump trucks driving down the road, those types of vehicles, there you go. It's Class B. Some of your fuel tanks that are all, your tanker trucks for fuel that are all one straight truck, you know, they're like a 3-axle truck, that's a Class B, right? They're not pulling a trailer, they're a heavy straight vehicle group, that's Class B. Great thing about a Class A, when you guys get that, you can drive one of those if you want to. You know, if you guys at some point drive a dump truck or, you know, whatever, you can drive that with a Class A because Class A covers all of it, all right? Except for passenger haulers, placard, hazmat, that type of stuff, okay? So that's what we're talking about. We're talking about the different classes of CDLs. Here's some facts about, by the way, guys, that CDL prep you see here on the left, supposedly, I haven't dug around in it, that's an awesome hack. The guys in South Carolina have that, a lot of them. They say it's very helpful. So if you want to jot that down, the icon will actually look like that on the phone because they showed it to me when I was down there. That thing is state specific. You can go in and pick your state, and it'll tell you a lot of stuff. And a lot of the guys are studying or prepping based off of that app. So you guys might research that a little bit and see what you think about it, and let me know if it's as good as what's advertised there in South Carolina. So it's illegal to possess more than one CDL, which that one I always find kind of funny. It's hard enough to get one. Why do I want to have more than one for? But it is illegal to possess more than one CDL. Okay, so what that means is you live in Kentucky, you get your CDL, you're going to have to surrender your Kentucky CDL, or you have to get an Indiana CDL if you're moving to Indiana, or whatever state you're moving into. Okay, you can't drive around holding more than one CDL. Notify your employer within 30 days of a conviction for any traffic violation. This is true no matter what vehicle you're in, okay? So what that means is when you all get your CDL and you're going on vacation to Florida with the family and you get caught down in Georgia someplace and you get a speeding ticket in your minivan, you have to let us know you've got a CDL, okay? The only thing you don't have to let us know about, obviously, if it's a parking violation, you do not have to let us know, okay? That's for a ticket, all right? Not that you were stopped and you got a warning, but if you get a ticket, you have to let your employer know within 30 a conviction for a traffic violation. You got to notify your Department of Motor Vehicles within 30 days for any traffic violation, except parking in any other jurisdiction. This is true no matter what vehicle you're driving. So you guys can kind of start seeing right off the bat that CDL drivers are scrutinized a little heavier, right? And you are. You're regulated a lot more. You're scrutinized heavier. Anybody know why that is? You're driving the biggest thing on the road, right? Does the most damage, kills the most people, injures the most people, takes longer to stop, takes more expertise to drive it, takes more training to drive it. Anytime you deal with federal regs and you're dealing with a CDL required vehicle, you're going to be regulated heavier. You're going to be scrutinized heavier. You're going to be looked at. You're going to be required to report more often, okay, like these traffic tickets and stuff. So there is a little bit of responsibility that you all need to be aware of that comes along with the privilege to operate a bigger vehicle. Notify your employer within 2 business days if the CDL is suspended. Okay, so if your CDL gets suspended for whatever reason, you got 2 days to let Electricom know that, hey, my CDL is suspended, I can't drive a CDL required vehicle. CDL information, you must give your employer information on all driving jobs you've held for the past 10 years. You have to submit your DOT physical to your licensing state annually or biannually. What that means is most medical cards are good for 2 years. However, if you have some sort of underlying health problem or diabetic or your heart or whatever it might be, some medical cards are only good for 1 year. Okay, so you have to make sure that you get that medical card to your state licensing agency. Okay, now Electricom, we kind of changed the way we do that in that not the medical card you have with you today, but from here on, every new medical card you get, if you guys haven't heard me say this already, a copy of that needs to go to Sandy Goodpasture, okay? You keep a copy of it for yourself, she gets a copy. She will see to it that it gets to the DMV in your state. That way, she can track it, she can have documentation that she sent it into them, because what happens, I hate to pick on Kentucky, especially in Kentucky, they're pretty known for it. What happens is say you're a Kentucky CDL guy, you get your medical card, you do everything you're supposed to do, and you send it into Kentucky and you say, here's my medical card, it's valid, and all of a sudden, I don't know what happens, but it goes into a stack in the corner of the desk, or that person quits their job and somebody else takes it. Whatever happens, it does not get entered into the computer on your B&B file. So you will see a lot of Kentucky CDL drivers that will be medically disqualified, medical noncompliance, disqualification of their CDL. What that means is the medical card did not get married up to the B&B file like it was supposed to. Somebody dropped the ball, basically, didn't get it attached. So why are we having Sandy do it? Because we want her to send that to them. We want her to keep some proof that she sent to them, either a fax cover sheet or an email or whatever it is, so she can say, hey, we sent this medical card to you. What did you do with it? Indiana's the same way. You send it into Indiana, the DMV, and they attach it to your B&B file. That way, when an officer stops you and runs your CDL, they already know you have a valid medical card because it's attached to your CDL. All right, go ahead, question.
I actually did my mom online down in Kentucky.
Yep.
Do I still have to give it to her?
I would give her a
They
copy.
said it was with my license, it was on the license.
I would give her a copy of it. Yeah, I would. So anybody else have any questions about that medical cards and how it works? See, by federal regulations, if you're driving a CDL required vehicle, past the first 15 days you get that medical, you technically don't have to have a medical card on you. CDL required vehicle only. Why? Because it's attached to your CDL, right? Like I just said, officer can run and check your CDL. It won't show your medical history, it won't show any HIPAA stuff, but it will tell him or her that they are medically certified, they have a valid medical card, okay? A non-CDL commercial motor vehicle, which most of all you in here drive right now, okay? You have to have a copy of your medical card with you because it's not attached to your license, okay? Because it's a non-CDL, right? So you have to have that copy of medical with you. So that's the difference. You must not ride a CDL required vehicle without having a CDL. We talked about the ramifications of that already. Interstate versus intrastate. The way I remember it is, Inter, I-N-T-E-R. I remember that E in there, and if you see I put it up there, I capitalized it. The E stands for exit, okay? That means I exit the state that I live in, okay? That's the difference between interstate and intrastate, all right? Now, if you are under 21, you cannot drive interstate in a commercial motor vehicle, okay? If you're under 21, you can only stay inside your state. So if I live in Kentucky and I drive a commercial motor vehicle and I'm 20 years old, I have to stay in Kentucky, all right? When I turn 21, I can drive to Indiana, Ohio, or Tennessee, or wherever I want. Just make sure you know the difference. Question
Isn't
about
it different tests though?
Do what?
Isn't it two different tests? Like,
Is what two different tests?
the interstate and the interstate?
It's not two different tests, but they will put it as a restriction on your license, whether you're restricted to intrastate or interstate, and it'll be based on your age. So basically, they will know. If you go to Kentucky and you're 20, they're going to put that restriction on your license that, hey, this is intrastate only. He has to stay inside the state of Kentucky. All right? So that's the difference. Just remember that, though, because those two phrases you will probably see on the test, okay? Some way, shape, or form, you might see on your test. And interstate has the E in it. That means I exit the state of wherever I live at. Talk a little bit about disqualifications, as I talked about already. The federal government sees that you are operating a bigger vehicle that is more dangerous, that takes more skill, that takes more training to operate. Once again, they are going to scrutinize and regulate you a little bit more on the operation of it. And they are going to say, hey, some things that you do in a CDL required vehicle, or if you're a CDL holder, there is going to be a penalty for doing that, because you're a CDL holder, and it's important that you operate safely and that you abide by the law. One of those things is driving a commercial motor vehicle with BAC at .04. Now people see .04 and they're like, wait a minute, I thought it was .08. You know, most state laws are .08 BAC, right, for DUI. There's a federal regulation that is actually .04 for operating a commercial motor vehicle with a .04 BAC or above. You cannot be jailed for that. They will issue a citation, and obviously you will not be driving because they will put you out of service for about 24 hours, all right? So, but that also comes along with that. Once you get a conviction of that, that can be a 1-year disqualification of your CDL, okay? You can lose that CDL for a year, just based on that one thing. Driving a commercial motor vehicle under the influence of alcohol or controlled substance. If they, based on their observations, based on their training and experience, they believe you're under the influence of a controlled substance or alcohol, they can put you out of service, write you a ticket for that, you can lose your CDL for a year. Refusing to undergo a blood test, okay? That you just flat out refuse. They offer you the test, they say, hey, I want to offer you a test because I see this, this, and this, I smell this, and you say, I'm not taking a test, just lost your CDL for a year, okay? That's part of having a CDL. By having a CDL, you are saying, I will submit to a drug or alcohol test if the officer has reason to believe I'm under the influence of drugs or alcohol. Leaving the scene of a crash, you get involved in a wreck, you leave the scene, obviously, they're going to disqualify your CDL for a year. Committing a felony, using a CMD, driving a CMD while suspended, causing a fatality through negligent operation, 2-year suspension for any second offense that I've listed up here, and 24 hours out of service for detecting alcohol, okay? There is a federal regulation that says if they detect the presence of an alcoholic beverage, they can write you a ticket and park you for 24 hours. Okay, they're serious about this stuff, the CDLs especially, guys. So if you stay and watch the Super Bowl and you have a few beers and you go to work the next day and they smell it on your breath, it doesn't matter if you blow into a portable breath test and you test .000, if they detected the odor of alcohol, that is a federal violation, all right, federal regulation. They will put you out of service for 24 hours and write you a ticket. I don't tell you this stuff to scare you away. I tell you this stuff to let you know that when you get a CDL, you're going to be a little more heavily scrutinized. There's a few regulations that are going to apply to you that don't apply to the general driving public out here that drive a car or drive whatever else, okay? So We got to really take it serious about what we're doing and how we're operating. Serious traffic offenses. For any of these, it's a 60-day loss of your CDL. For any 2 of these violations in a 3-year period, it's a 120-day loss of your CDL for 3 or more of these within 3 years. Excessive speeding, 15 over or more, reckless driving, improper lane changes, following a vehicle too close, traffic offenses in a commercial motor vehicle involving a fatality, driving a CMV without CDL or no CDL in possession, or improper class of CDL or endorsements. So all those I've listed there, you get 2 of those within 3 years, it's a 60-day loss of your CDL. Okay, you get 3 of them, it's going to be 120 days. They take it really serious. Again, because you're operating something that's the biggest thing on the road, does the most damage, does the most harm. Safe driving. I'll just forewarn you, some of this is going to be really boring. Maybe it's boring at times you've had talking about driving since driver's ed, which has been a long time for a lot of us, myself included. But it's something we have to go over because you will be tested on a lot of this knowledge, and some of them may be things you never really thought about or didn't know what the answer was. So vehicle inspections. The thing you need to remember about vehicle inspections is this: why do we do it? Why do we do pre-trip every day?
Make sure everything's in working order.
Make sure everything's in working order. Safety, right? The safety of us, the safety of who we're sharing the road with, the safety of everybody. It's the #1 reason we do any type of pre-trip inspection or vehicle walk around is safety. Prevents breakdowns and prevent crashes. So just remember safety. Pre-trip, we do that every morning, okay? Prior to operating our vehicles. Define problems prior to driving. Make sure everything's all right with it. During a trip, there are some things that you should be watching. You should be watching gauges for signs of trouble. Use your senses to check for problems. Look, listen, smell, feel. When you stop, check the brakes, wheels, tires, lights, coupling devices, and cargo. After the trip, sometimes it's not a bad idea to complete a post-trip inspection. I always use the example of electricom. You guys know your trucks and trailers. You know what you've used them for today. You know where they've been. If you've been crossing ditches, driving across fields, driving through the woods with that truck and trailer, and you're getting ready to come back on the highway, it's a real good idea to do a real quick post-trip inspection to make sure that your plug for your lights hasn't yanked out, you haven't damaged any tires, you haven't caused any damage to the coupling device, you haven't done anything wrong. Check that thing out and make sure. So you guys know your vehicles more than anybody. If you feel like it's taking a little unnecessary abuse on a particular day, it's not a bad idea to go ahead and check it out before you take off back on the highway. What are you looking for? Tire problems. You're looking for air pressure that's too much or too little. This one you'll probably see on the test. There's a measurement called the tread depth groove, okay? And basically under the federal regulations, it is illegal to operate a vehicle that has less than 4/30 seconds of a tread depth groove on the steering axle, okay? That's your front axle. Anywhere else on that truck and trailer, it's 2:30 seconds, okay? And you'll see that on the test. The practice tests I've taken, that's been on about all of them. So the way I remember it is this. Steering is pretty important, right? So that's held to a higher standard. That's held to the 4:30 seconds, okay? Everything else is important, but not as important as that steer axle is. It's held to a lower standard, 2:30 seconds, okay? That's the way to remember. 4:30 seconds up front. You're looking for cuts, damage, fabric showing, tread separation, dual tires that make contact, which is really a dangerous scenario, especially for a fire or a blowout. Mismatched sizes, cut or cracked valve stems. So there's a lot of things on those tires you're looking for. Wheels and rims. Anybody here ever seen a wheel fly off a truck driving down the road? Got a couple of hands up in here. Extremely, extremely dangerous. A lot of liability for you, the driver. Who's responsible at the end of the day if something happens mechanically with that truck? The driver. Okay, it's not the crew, it's not the passenger, it's not the foreman. It's the guy sitting there with his hands on the steering wheel, right? You are ultimately responsible for everything on that vehicle. Okay, fair or not fair? So if you didn't catch on to elongated holes on the rims, and you didn't catch on to a couple of studs broken off on the wheels, then that falls on the driver. Okay, so this stuff's very important on the wheels and rims. as you can imagine, a wheel goes flying off the vehicle driving down I-65, which is happening at 65, 70 mile an hour. A lot of people have been killed because of that. That's a huge projectile that's rolling down the road uncontrolled at a very fast speed. So we're looking for rust around the wheel nut. Wheel nuts could indicate they are loose, missing clamps, stud spacers, lugs, mismatched bent or cracked block rings, wheels or rims with welded repairs. So the walk around is not just a check off list item, something we just got to do and get done, and we just take a stroll around this thing to say we did it. Remember why you're walking around that truck. You're walking around it to try to find anything that might be wrong. So you should be going down to a squatted position or on one knee. You should be looking at those wheels. If you got to dust them off a little bit to see them better, then dust them off a little bit. You should be checking the tread through. You should be checking all those things. And it's not just something we go through. It's a routine. It's the reason why we're doing it. Cracked drums on the brakes, shoes or pads that are contaminated with oil, grease, or brake fluid. Shoes that are worn, dangerous, and thin, they're missing or they're broken. So we're also checking the brakes the best as we can. The drums and the shoes. Steering systems. Missing nuts, bolts, cotter keys, or parts, bent loose or broken parts, such as steering column, tire rods, power steering equipped, check hoses, pumps, fluid level, check for leaks, steering wheel, play at 10 degrees, approximately 2 inches of movement at the rim of the 20-inch steering wheel. I will say this about power steering. During your walk around, after you get your commercial learner's permitted, you test, you do the skills test, part of your walk around, we'll be showing them how to check fluid levels, right? So whatever truck you are going to test in, make sure that you know how to check the oil, how to check the coolant, how to check power steering, how to check brake fluid, how to check all these things, whatever that truck might be equipped with. Make sure you know how to check it. Suspension system defects. We're talking about spring hangers that allow movement of the axle. Cracked or broken leaf springs, which is a really common one. A quarter or more of the leaf springs missing. Broken leaves that have shifted and may hit a tire. Leaking shock absorbers. Loose, cracked, broken, or missing frame members. So those are a few examples of some of the suspension and frame members we're talking about. Exhaust. We're looking for loose or broken or missing exhaust pipes. Loose, broken, or missing mounting brackets, clamps, bolts, or nuts. Exhaust system parts rubbing against fuel system, all right? You don't have to be a genius to figure out that is not a good scenario. Okay, you've got something rubbing against the fuel system that is an exhaust component, that's not good. Exhaust system parts that are leaking. So we need to be sure we're checking the exhaust components. All right, this one will be on your test, I just about guarantee you. Kentucky, Indiana, doesn't matter where, there will be some way, shape, or form a question asked about emergency equipment. You need to realize that in a commercial motor vehicle, there are 3 things by the federal regulations you absolutely have to have in a commercial motor vehicle. You have to have a fire extinguisher, you have to have triangles, and you have to have spare fuses. Okay, that's the 3 things you have to have. A lot of guys are like, what about first aid kit? It's not a requirement under the federal motor carrier regulations. The first aid kit comes more into play with OSHA regulation and some of the other regulations catch that. So the thing you got to remember about it is this: fire extinguisher. It has to be charged, secured, and accessible. All right? I don't know if that'll be on your test or not, but you should think about that every day when you do your pre-trip. Is my fire extinguisher charged? Is it secured? Is it accessible? Do I know how to get to it? Does my crew know how to get to it? Spare electrical fuses. Technically, by federal regulation, you have to have a spare fuse for everything in that truck that requires a fuse. I've not known too many inspectors that go in there and actually check that and make sure that you have a fuse that matches up for every fuse you're supposed to have. But it is a requirement. It's federal regulation. Warning devices. Most everybody carries triangles, reflective triangles. However, as a substitute, you can carry 6 fusees or 3 liquid burning flares. The way I remember this is this: triangles, you have to carry 3 of them with you. How many sides does a triangle have? Question of the day. 3. That's how you're going to remember that, okay? Triangle has 3 sides. The federal regs require me to have how many of them? 3. I got to have 3 of them, okay? You may see that question again. So we're going to test our knowledge a little bit, all right? We're going to go back over a few of the things, the high points that come straight out of the Indiana book, and it talks a little bit about some of the stuff that you should know that we just covered. What's the most important reason for doing a vehicle inspection? Safety, absolutely, good. What things should you check for during your trip? Everything. That's an all-encompassing answer. Exhaust? Yep. Steering? Tires? Your gauges? Remember, we talked about look, listen, feel, smell. Pay attention to what your vehicle's telling you. Gauges, tires, wheels, rims, brakes, lights, reflectors, brake and electrical connections to the trailer, coupling devices, and cargo security are all things you should be checking during your trip. Name some of the, all right, we're going to have to count Andy out of this one. He's a mechanic. He's going to know this. Name some of the key steering system parts, tire rods. What else we got? Steering components.
Steering pump.
Dipping arm.
Ball joint.
Yeah. Drag lane, good one. Steering shaft, right, be another one. Gearbox, be another one. So just know a few of those parts if you're asking. Name some suspension defects. What are some things you look for in a suspension that might be wrong? Leaf springs. Brackets. How about a shock absorber that's leaking a little bit? How about a leaf spring that is loose and is rubbing up against a tire? Be another one, right? Spring hangers. Cracked or broken spring hangers, missing or broken springs. 3 kinds of emergency equipment you have to have in a commercial motor vehicle by regulation. Fire extinguisher, triangles, and fuses. Okay, how many triangles? 3. You guys got it. All right. What is the minimum tread depth for steer axle tires? 430 seconds. What's the minimum tread depth for all other tires on that rig? 230 seconds. Good. I just gave you the answer to that. Name some things you should check on the front of your vehicle during the walk-around inspection. Front axle. Lights. Yep. Windshield, lights, reflectors, steering. Just a few of the things you should test or check. What should your wheel bearings be checked for? Leaks, right? It's the most important thing, leaks. How many red reflector triangles should you carry? You guys got that already? 3. How do you test hydraulic brakes for leaks? We didn't cover this. Okay, you're gonna pump the brake 3 times, and then you're gonna hold the brake down for about 5 seconds, okay? It shouldn't give. If it gets spongy or if it starts going to the floor, then you've probably got a leak. Okay, you guys might be asked that question again. There it says right there, pump the brake down 3 times, firmly apply pressure, hold for 5 seconds, and the pedal shouldn't move. If it starts sliding out to the floor, probably got a leak. Okay, so you're probably going to be asked this, and you're going to be graded on this, guys, okay? On your skills test, they will check to make sure that you did this. You can learn this stuff after you get your commercial learner's permit. You'll start learning about the walk around and the do's and the don'ts and stuff you got to do, okay? So I'm not trying to overwhelm you, but this will come up later again. Why do you put the starter switch key in your pocket during a vehicle inspection? Okay, we'll make sure that nobody moves the truck, right? The keys aren't in it, nobody can mistakenly climb up in there. When I'm underneath axle 5 and I'm looking at brakes or checking something out, then nobody accidentally jumps up in that truck and moves it, okay? So you're doing it to ensure that no one starts or moves the vehicle during inspection. I keep talking about the walk around during your skills test. A lot of people say it's the hardest part of the skills test is the walk around. Basically, they're going to make you do a pre-trip inspection on your truck and trailer with the instructor there next to you, and you're going to say, okay, I'm standing right now at the front driver's side, this is what I would look for, and you're going to explain what you look for. Jed has put together a nice study guide, a binder, that we will give to each of you all. If you will let us know, hey, I've got my learner's permit, I want one of those binders, we will get you a study binder, and it's got the walk around in it, okay? It's got a study guide for it. So when you're studying on your own, before you take the skills test, you can carry that binder, walk around with it, and make sure that you're hitting all the high points that you got to hit. But they say that that's one of the most difficult parts to get over. The skills test has 3 parts. You do the walk around first. If you pass that, you go to basic controls, okay, which is going to be parking and backing and all those different basic controls. The third part of the skills test is going to be on the road test. That means the instructor is going to jump in with you. He's going to say, take off straight down this highway right here. He's going to tell you what to do. Turn right up here, change the lanes, whatever. You're going to drive around for 30 or 40 minutes, and he's going to grade you where you're driving around. In Indiana, if you fail any part of that skills test, let's say you failed the walk around right out of the gate, you're done. You can't go on to the next 2, okay? If you pass the walk around and you pass the basic vehicle controls, and then you do something boneheaded on the road, like you blow a stop sign or you don't use your turn signal, you got to come back and do it all again, okay? So it's not going to be easy to do. It's going to take some work and some time to get it across park to make sure you're comfortable doing those things. All righty. I'll tell you what. Started here. Like I said, we got a long way to go. We've got about 27 slides done out of 218, so we've got a lot of ground to cover. Basic control of your vehicle to drive the vehicle safely. You must be able to control its speed and direction. Safe operation of a commercial motor vehicle. I'll tell you how I remember this. I try to remember things by silly ways. So I take the first letter of every word up there, and it spells bass. And everybody likes bass fish, right? So the 4 things you have to do to control a commercial motor vehicle safely, you think of the acronym BASS. B stands for backing, A stands for accelerating, S for steering, and the other S for stopping. All right? Just a little simple way to try to remember if you're after that on the test. A little information about the test. It is a multiple choice true or false test, all right? So what you're going to see is on a lot of those multiple choice questions is there's going to be 1 or 2 that are absolutely ridiculous, and you know they're the wrong answers. So that kind of narrows it down for you a little bit on what the right answer is going to be. We'll talk a little bit more at the end about test taking and just kind of some strategies and ideas for taking the test.
That person sitting there is just very confused too.
Yeah. Yeah, there's some where there's not a right answer, so you try to find the most right answer. I mean, there's some you look at it and you're like, okay, none of those are really right, but you're going to try to find the one that is the most close to being right. Yeah, there's some weird things on the testing. Accelerating, don't roll back when you start. If you're equipped with a trailer brake, a trailer handbrake, then apply it. Speed up smoothly and gradually. Speed up gradually when traction is forward. Drive wheels may spin, causing you to lose control. If drive wheels spin, take your foot off the accelerator. Okay? Probably a lot of 16-year-olds need to hear that information. We're doing our purpose. Steering. Hold the steering wheel firmly with both hands. Hands should be on opposite sides of the wheel. I know this is rocket science, guys. This is pretty high-tech stuff. Stopping. Apply the brake gradually. The amount of brake needed depends on the speed and if you need to stop. Control braking pressure so the vehicle comes to a smooth stop. If it's a manual transmission, push the clutch in when the engine is close to idle. Backing. In my previous profession, probably the #1 cause of all the accidents that we had in police commissions were backing. Right? It's probably statistically one of the highest collisions that there are is when you're backing. So it stands to reason, pretty obvious. You can't see, you're backing up, don't want to see your path or where you're going. So the book talks a little bit about backing safely and some of the things that you need to consider. Avoid backing when you can by parking appropriately. So if you can pull through a spot and then when you leave, you'll be able to pull out instead of back out. That's always preferred. Look at your path before you back. When you're walking back to your truck, take a look behind it, see if you see any obstructions or anything that might be Use your mirrors on both sides, back slowly. That way if you do strike something, that you're at a very, very slow speed. It also gives you time to react. It gives you time to be checking your mirrors on both sides if you're backing up slow. Back and turn toward the driver's side. You will see that on the test, I just about guarantee it. Why do you back towards the driver's side when you can? Visibility, absolutely, yeah, you can see a lot better out the driver's side. So when possible, back to the driver's side. Use a helper or a spotter. What is, let me ask you this, if you've got a spotter, what is the #1 hand sign that you need to agree upon? Stop, yeah. This means stop, or this means stop, whatever you come to an agreement on, you need to communicate that and make sure that you both understand what stop means. Shifting gears with manual transmission. Okay, you guys will be taking the test in a manual transmission truck to get your, you don't want to do it in automatic because you'll have a restriction. You'll only be able to operate CDL required vehicles with automatic transmissions. So you will be taking it in manual transmission. That's what our test truck is. So we'll talk a little bit about shifting gears and manual transmission. Most heavy vehicles with manual transmissions require double clutching to change gears. How many are familiar with double clutching and what it is? Several of you in here. This is double clutching. You release the accelerator, you push in the clutch, you shift to neutral, and then you release the clutch. You let the engine and the gears slow down to the RPM required for the next gear. You push in the clutch again, you shift to the higher gear at the same time, you release the clutch and press the accelerator. That's double clutching, and you will most likely have to demonstrate that during your skills test, so it's something that you need to be familiar with. 2 ways of knowing when to shift. Your engine speed, you're going to watch the tachometer and shift up when the engine reaches the top of the range, or you can use the road speed. Learn what speeds each gear is good for, then simply use your speedometer. So remember, the 2 ways we know when to shift are engine speed and road speed. When to downshift, before starting down the hill. Okay, the key word there being before. Not when you've already broke over the hill, but you want to do it before you start down the hill. Slow down and shift down to the speed that you can control without using the brakes hard. Downshift, and again in big letters, before starting down the hill. Shift to a gear lower than that would be required to climb the same hill. Okay, so you figure out what it would take to climb that hill, and you're going to go a gear lower than what that is when you're going down the hill. Before you start down the hill. Again, keyword before. You come up to a curve. You're going to downshift before you enter that curve. Not in the curve, but before you enter the curve. So the 2 times we're going to downshift, before entering a curve and before starting down the hill. Keyword being before. Now downshift, release the accelerator, push in the clutch, shift to neutral at the same time, release the clutch, press the accelerator, increase engine and gear speed to the RPM required, push in the clutch, shift to the lower gear at the same time, release the clutch and accelerate at the same time, and again, 2 types of speed we're looking at, engine speed and road speed to know when to downshift. So we're going to test our knowledge a little bit on manual transmissions and backing and braking and driving safely. Why do you back towards the driver's side? Visibility. If you're parked on a hill, how can you start moving without rolling? Trailer handbrake, that's one way. What's another way you can? Anybody? Hardly engage the clutch before you take your right foot off the brake. You can use the parking brake. Or if you're a tractor trailer equipped with a trailer handbrake, the hand valve can be applied. One piece of information you might want to know, which our truck doesn't have it, I don't think, but if you are driving a truck trailer combination that has a hand trailer brake, there's only really a couple times you would use that. You would use it to test the trailer brakes, to make sure the trailer brakes are working, and you would also use it in a situation like this. You're on a hill and you don't want to roll backwards, you could use that trailer. Under most normal circumstances, you would not use that trailer handbrake to apply your trailer brakes, okay? But our truck doesn't have one. When backing, why is it important to use a helper?
Because better than you can.
There you go, visibility. Yeah, you got a set of eyes out there that's seeing something that you're not seeing from the driver's compartment. There's blind spots out there. Most important hand signal, you and your spotter can agree on. Stop. Stop. Yep, figure out what it's going to be. So two special conditions or times that you should downshift. Yep, before going around the curve and before starting down the hill. When should you downshift an automatic transmission? Read that one close. There will be questions on there. You want to read the question 2 or 3 times when you take that test, all right? I got the bad habit of kind of flying through one I didn't practice online, and I missed a couple because I didn't read it close enough. When should you downshift automatic transmissions? What the book says is when you're going down a steep grade.
Yeah, you can.
Okay? That's what the book says. Not Kirby's answer, book answer. True or false? Retarders keep you from skidding when the road is slippery.
False.
False?
Yeah.
False. Very good. What are the 2 types of speed or the 2-way stowaway shift?
Speedometer and technique.
Yep. Engine speed and road speed, right? Tachometer and speedometer. We talk about visibility a little bit. Not looking properly is a major cause of crashes. Very true. We've got way too many people looking at a screen or looking at a newspaper or looking at whatever else we're driving. So not using your visibility is a huge reason for crashes. This one will probably be on the test. You want to make note of that. You should look 12 to 15 seconds ahead while driving. That's what the book recommends. 12 to 15 seconds ahead while you're driving. Use your mirrors. Check regularly for cars to the sides and behind you. When you change lanes, you want to check your mirrors before you change lanes and after you signal, and again, right after you start the lane change. Check your mirrors while turning to avoid hitting anything, while merging. A lot of things we use our mirrors for, so you should constantly be looking at those mirrors, tight areas. Remember the convex mirrors make things appear smaller and further away than they actually are. Signaling your intentions. My pet peeve, anybody else in here with me? People too lazy to hit that turn signal and tell you what the heck they're going to do. Drives me absolutely crazy. Signaling what you plan to do is important for safety. 3 rules of signaling. Signal early, signal continuously, and be sure you cancel your signal. So early, continuously, and cancel. Put your signal on before changing lanes, and be sure you're changing lanes smoothly and slowly. Warn the drivers behind you when you see them need to slow down by like what's happening on the brake pedal. When there's trouble or when you're making a turn, you're stopping, or there's some type of emergency. That last one there was on one of the practice tests I took. Don't direct traffic. Okay, it's tempting, and we all know that. We come to a stop sign, and it's out in the middle of the country, and you're trying to tell somebody, you go ahead and go first, or hey, it's clear this way, you can go ahead and go, you motion them to go. We don't realize it, we think we're doing something good, but we've actually just set ourselves up for a possible liability, all right? If we direct them, and they pull out, and they get hit, and it wasn't clear, then that could actually come back on us. So don't direct traffic. Communicating your presence. When passing the vehicle, pedestrian, bicyclist, flash your headlights or honk your horn. Let them know that you're there. Use vehicle lighting and low visibility, and always use your flashers when you're parked at the side of the road. We're going to talk a little bit about reflective triangles. Believe it or not, not only do they tell you how many you have to have, they tell you how those are supposed to be set out, and in what amount of time those are supposed to be set out. Okay, so again, you're operating a CDL required vehicle. You're going to be more heavily scrutinized, you're more heavily regulated, and they're going to tell you and spell things out how you need to do things. If you have to stop at the side of the road, you must put on your emergency warning devices within 10 minutes of the following way. You got 10 minutes to get your triangles set out. I had to get to see a policeman that sits there in a median and has a stopwatch. and hits start and sits there and watches you, make sure you get it done in 10 minutes, all right? We need to try to get it done as quick as we can. 10 minutes. One way on a divided highway, or a divided highway, sorry. Place the warning devices, remember this one, 10, 100, and 200 feet towards approaching traffic. Okay, so if I'm on a one-way road, or if it's a divided highway, I've got a median, or I've got whatever in the middle, I've got 10 minutes, and I've got to get these things set up for approaching traffic, which is going to be behind me, 10 foot from the corner of my vehicle, 100 foot, and 200 foot. Okay, that's the three distances that you need to remember for putting them out on a one-way or divided highway. If it's a two-lane road, like most of our state highways are around here, or if it is undivided highway, you're going to place the warning devices within 10 feet of the front or rear corners to mark the location of the vehicle, and 100 foot behind and 100 foot ahead of the vehicle on the shoulder of the lane you're stopping. Okay, so you're going to put one at 10 feet, either from the back corner or the front corner, and you're going to put one out 100 feet in front of the vehicle, one 100 feet rear of the vehicle. Okay? So that's what we're looking at on the reflective triangles. Driving too fast is a major cause of fatal accidents. All right? There's something that I'm sure everybody here didn't know, right? Driving too fast is a major cause of fatal accidents. Adjust your speed depending on the driving conditions. Adjust the traction curves, visibility, traffic, and hills. We're talking about controlling our speed. Typically year in, year out, excessive speed is at least in the top three, usually number one, on causes of fatal or serious injury accidents. Okay, so we have to slow down. Sometimes we have to slow down more than usual because of the conditions we find ourselves in. It's foggy, it's rainy, it's snowing, it's whatever, and we have to adjust our speed accordingly. Your stopping distance. Your total stopping distance is based on three things. It's based on your perception distance, okay? That's how far away from something do I have to be before I actually see that there is an emergency or there's a problem ahead of me. It's based on your reaction distance. How soon can I get my foot on that brake pedal and get the brakes applied and start slowing down? And then it's also based on the braking distance, okay? Which is how long does my vehicle take once the brakes are engaged, based on the vehicle, based on the roadway surface, how long does it take it to stop? When you add all those three things together, perception, reaction, braking distance, remember PVR, okay? Perception, braking distance, and reaction distance, that's going to give you your total stopping distance. Interesting fact up top, I've seen it on 2 practice tests that I've taken online. When you double your speed from 20 to 40, the impact and braking distance is 4 times greater. Okay, remember that, because they're going to ask you that multiple choice. They're going to say, is it 2 times greater? And you're going to say, well, 20 to 40 is 2 times. That should be the answer. It's not. Okay, it's 4 times greater. So 20 to 40, impact and braking distance 4 times greater. At 60 miles an hour, your stopping distance is longer than a football field. Think about that. 60 miles an hour, your total stopping distance is longer than a football field. Now you add into the fact that someone's not paying attention, they're texting or driving, or doing something they're not supposed to be doing, we're talking about longer than a football field for total stopping distance. High speeds greatly increase the severity of crashes and stopping distances. So again, there's that speed thing. You want to drive slow and drive through conditions. Little trick question for you. Which one of these stops better? Empty truck or fully loaded truck?
Empty.
How many people in here think an empty truck will brake better than a heavy loaded truck? How many people think a loaded truck will stop better than an empty truck? Okay, it's loaded. Yeah, loaded truck. What's stopping based on? Friction, right? It's based on friction, so you're going to have more friction, and for some reason it's not doing what it's supposed to be doing right now. But yeah, it's going to be the truck on the left, the loaded truck, that is going to stop the best. There it is. You'll probably see it on the test. Traction is the friction between tires and the road. There are some road conditions that cause reduced traction. We obviously know that here in Indiana. Once it gets to about December, there's snow that will decrease that traction. Slippery surfaces decrease traction. For example, wet roads can double your stopping distance, so we want to be sure to adjust to the road conditions, knowing that our stopping distance is going to be increased. So identifying slippery surfaces on the roadway. Shaded areas remain icy longer, most of us know that. Bridges always freeze first. Melting ice is worse than solid ice. Anybody hit black ice before? Not something you ever want to do again, right? It scares you to death. Black ice is a thin, clear layer of ice that allows you to see through and see the roadway, so you can't tell it's even there. Just after a rain, you guys may remember this from driver's ed, is when it becomes the most slippery, the roadway surface, because of the oils and stuff that have gathered on the roadway. It becomes very slick when the rain starts. How many people hydroplane in here before? Don't have to be going very fast hydroplane, right? I mean, you're going 25, 30 mile an hour, depending on the surface, you can hydroplane. Causes your tires to lose contact with the road, and it's comparable to water skiing. Only a lot less fun. Speed curves. Remember, we're going to reduce our speed prior to entering a curve. Tires may lose traction, cause a skid. A rollover can occur, even if traction is maintained. Don't brake in the curve, okay? Two things we don't do. We don't brake in the curve, and we don't shift in the curve, right? We do those things prior to entering the curve. We're going to brake and do any shifting we have to do prior to entering into that curve. Be in a gear where you can slightly accelerate into the curve. Most important objective when driving on a down grade is to select and maintain a speed that is not too fast for these things, okay? You're going to want to remember these 5 things. Again, these are the most important objective when driving on a down grade is select and maintain speed. So this is selecting and maintaining your speed is based on these 5 things. Total weight of the vehicle, length of the grade, steepness of the grade, road conditions, and weather. Okay, that's the 5 factors that you're going to have to remember. You will see something on the multiple choice test, on the test, probably like that question, where it will give you those choices. Which of these 5 are factors that you should consider when you're going down a down grade? And there they are. So you might want to highlight that in your notes right there in your book also. The speed on down grades. Our test for knowledge. How far ahead does the manual say you should be looking when you're driving? 12 to 15 seconds. Good. What are 2 things that we're looking ahead for when we're driving? All right. Now, this is kind of a tricky question because there's a lot of things you should be looking ahead for when you're driving. All right. But think about what are 2 main things you should be looking for. Emergencies. What else should we be looking for? Okay, construction. Anything else? How about you're driving through town? We see a lot of people, especially if you come into the fall, doing what? Riding a bike, walking, right? So we're looking for vehicles coming into your lane is what it says, and brake lights. I'm with you guys on the answers we gave. I thought made more sense. But what the book says is look for vehicles coming into your lane and look for brake lights ahead. What's the most important way to see the signs in your vehicle? It's an easy one. Use your mirrors, right? We talked about going slow and using your mirrors for visibility. What does communicating mean in safe driving? What 2 things are we trying to tell people? We're trying to tell them what? I'm here, and we're trying to tell them what else? What my intentions are, right? I'm trying to tell them that I am here, and I'm trying to tell them presence and intentions, okay? Just remember presence and intentions. Where should you place reflectors when you're stopped on a divided highway? I heard it 10, 100, and 200 feet. Where do I put them? Approaching traffic, right? So I'll put them, just a side note, how long do I have to get them out? There you go, 10 minutes. What 3 things add up to total stopping distance? Braking distance, anybody else got another one?
Perception.
Reaction. Perception. PBR, right? Perception, braking, reaction. Those 3 things add up to total stopping distance. If you go twice as fast, does your stopping distance increase by 2 or 4 times?
4 times.
4 times. Yeah, remember that. Empty trucks have the best braking. False. Loaded trucks have the best braking. What is hydroplane?
Ski on top of the
Heard over here, water skiing. Boy, a heck of a lot less fun, right? Water skiing, it's basically where you lose traction with the roadway because of the water that is gathered on a wet road. What's black ice? Thin layer of
See through it.
clear ice, right? Allows you to see the road through it. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about managing space. Be glad that you don't have to fight this every day in this picture up here. But managing space is important. The most important space is the space in front of your vehicle. Okay, just remember that, because that's going to allow you some reaction time. It's going to allow you an escape of some place to go if you need to, and it's something that you can control. You can't control how close somebody's following you from behind or how close they pull on your sides, but it's the one place we can control. So the front of the vehicle is very important. It's the most important space to control. Proper following distance. This will most likely be on your test. I've seen it on a lot of the practice tests. Basically, you can figure on 1 second for every 10 feet of length of your vehicle. Okay? If you're traveling over 40 miles an hour, you're going to add a second. So what that means is this: if I'm driving a 30-foot combination vehicle at 50 miles an hour, how many seconds am I going to need to follow the vehicle in front of me?
50 seconds.
How many? 30-foot combination vehicle, okay? 1 second for every 10 feet of length, all right? So that's how many seconds?
30 seconds.
3. I'm over 40 mile an hour, so I'm going to add what? 1 more? 4 seconds, okay? So it's going to be 1 second for every 10 feet of length of your vehicle length, and then you're going to add a second for every, for when you're over 40 mile an hour on the speed limit. To determine your following distance, you simply count the number of seconds that it takes you to get to the same point of the vehicle in front of you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to watch the vehicle ahead of me, and when their rear bumper hits that shadow on the road up there, I'm going to start counting 1001, 1002, 1003, all the way up to it takes the front of my vehicle to hit that same place, okay? That's how you're going to check the following distance. That's what the book will say. If you get that question on the test, it will ask you, how do you know how close you're following someone, or how to determine your following distance. You count based on a marking on the roadway of how long it takes you to hit that same mark that they did. Favorite thing to do, handling tailgaters. Can't handle the way you'd like to, but kind of does drive you nuts. Another one of those pet peeves when somebody's riding 6 inches off your bumper. Stay in the right lane. We're going to talk a little bit about handling those individuals. You want to stay in the right lane, avoid quick lane changes. Increase your following distance in front of you. Don't speed up. As hard as it is to do, avoid tricks, don't lose your temper, don't get upset. It's better off, I'm telling you guys have seen it the same way I have all across this country. These road rage incidents that end up in gunfire, somebody ends up wrecking somebody or shooting somebody. I mean, it's absolutely crazy. So sometimes, all the time, it's best just to swallow our pride, get out of the way, let them go around, and do whatever we're going to do. But definitely don't want to let cooler heads prevail, so to speak, when you're dealing with tailgaters. Speaking of tailgaters and road rage, see a lot of it on that track, I'm sure. Keep your vehicle centered in your lane. Try not to travel next to another vehicle when you can. That creates a couple problems. The other driver may suddenly change lanes into you, or you may be trapped and you need to change lanes. Don't drive alongside other vehicles in strong winds. A sight that we've seen way too often, being in 25 years, I've seen it a bunch, are trucks going in places where they won't fit, where they're not supposed to be. So we'll talk a little bit about overhead space. Don't assume that the heights posted at bridges and overpasses are correct. Just realize that an empty versus loaded vehicle can change the height of the vehicle. Also, the grade can change the height. If you doubt that you have space to travel under an object, go very slowly. If possible, take another route. And before backing into an area, check clearance issues behind your vehicle. The type of combinations that we drive in Electricom, this will not normally be an issue. Obviously, height is usually not a consideration. Legal height in Indiana is 13.5 feet. I'm pretty sure, besides our semi truck and trailer, we probably never get anywhere close to that. All the types of combinations we drive. So It's often a problem on dirt roads or unpaved roads. Drainage channels, crossroads can also be a problem, as well as railroad tracks. We talk about making turns with combination vehicles and some considerations. Right turns, turn slowly, turn wide, while keeping the rear of your vehicle near the curb. If you must turn into the opposing lane to make the turn, make sure there's no vehicles coming. Left turns, make sure you have reached the center of the intersection before starting your turn. And if there are two turning lanes, always take the right turning lane. Space needed to cross or enter traffic. Just remember you're driving a bigger vehicle, okay? When you're driving a CDL required vehicle, you're driving a longer dimension-wise vehicle. You're also driving a heavier vehicle. So with those two things in mind, you're going to speed up slower, right? Your accelerating is going to be slower, and you're going to need more room to merge into traffic. So you need to remember those things. Due to slow acceleration in space, you'll need a larger gap. Acceleration will vary with the load that you have, obviously. And before you start across a road, make sure that you get all the way across before traffic reaches you. Seeing hazards. Common sight in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. There's a mood standout highway, I'm sure. Hazards, any road condition or other road user, bicyclist, driver, pedestrian, there's possible danger. Seeing hazards lets you be prepared and gives you time to react. So we have to be aware of hazards in the roadway. So we're going to talk a little bit about learning to actually see the hazards. One of the big things I'd like to talk about here before we jump into that are emergency vehicles and move over law, which I think every state in the lower 48 now has. Just remember that not only is it a common courtesy that we all should do anyway without the law, it's now actually a law, and it's a pretty stiff fine, and it's probably an automatic citation if you fail to move for an emergency vehicle. Most states, like Indiana, requires you to move to the left lane if there is one. If you see any type of emergency service vehicle on the shoulder, whether it be a recovery vehicle, an ambulance, a fire truck, police car, whatever it might be, a state highway worker, you have to move to the left lane. If there's not a left lane, you have to drastically reduce your speed. Okay, so just remember those two things. Move to the left lane and drastically reduce your speed. That's a big fine, it's a big ticket, it's a big hit for us at Electricon, our DOT scores, if you get warned or cited for failing to move over for an emergency vehicle. So just remember those things. There are big fines for violating that, and I'm telling you, there's not a whole lot of things I can tell you. There are certain tickets. Seat belts are definitely one of them. This one's another one. If they see you moving over for an emergency vehicle, you are most likely going to get a citation. Work zones. Slow your speed down, watch for narrow lanes, uneven pavement, unexpected turns. Use your brake lights or your flashers to slow vehicles down behind you, and always watch for workers and equipment. All right, foreign objects on the road, as tempting as it is, we think we're in a video game, we score a lot of points if we hit it. It's not a good idea. It could be a danger to your tires, your rims, your hoses, your wire, your undercarriage. Some objects in the road appear to be harmless. We don't know what's inside that box though. Okay, that might be a box full of nails. There might be a huge glass jar or something. We don't know what it is. So it's always best to just avoid those things. Remain alert for objects in the road so that you have time to react. People who are hazards. Another one of my pet peeves, bicyclists that think the road is just a big bicycle path. We have to watch out for those types of things because ultimately we are responsible and we can be held liable for not seeing them and for not giving them room. So some things we need to watch out for. We need to watch for drivers who have blocked vision. They appear to be confused or distracted. We need to watch for fatigued and impaired drivers. Drivers who are traveling extremely slow or fast, pedestrians and bicyclists, kids playing, road workers, disabled vehicles, accidents, just a lot of examples, a few of the hazards, people hazards that we need to watch before we drive. One of my favorite quotes up there at the right side, if you fail to plan, you're planning to fail. I think we can apply that to probably every aspect of our lives, driving included. Be on the constant lookout for hazards. Don't forget what you're looking for. Don't forget why you are looking for them, because they may become emergencies. Okay, you will probably always see that on the list. Why are you looking for hazards? Because they may become emergencies. Always have a plan and be prepared to take immediate action if necessary. All right, test your knowledge. How do we figure out how many seconds following distance that we have between us and the vehicle in front of us? Okay. A little bit of a trick question. It was talking more about how do I determine what that distance is. Like if I'm following somebody, I'm going to count the seconds off. When the rear of your vehicle passes a dark spot in the pavement or a shadow or a bridge or whatever it is, I'm going to start counting 1001, 1002, until the front of my vehicle hits that same spot. That's going to tell me the following distance. Here's more what you're talking about. If you're driving a 30-foot vehicle, 55 mile an hour, how many seconds following distance should I have?
4.5 seconds.
What I hear? 4? Absolutely. Remember, it's 1 second for every 10 feet of vehicle length, okay, that I have on my combination. And then I'm going to add that additional second because I'm over 40 miles an hour. Okay, so in this circumstance here, I've got a 30-foot vehicle, 55 mile an hour, it's going to be 4 seconds. You should decrease your following distance if someone is driving too close. True or false? Okay, the following distance is in front of me. Should I decrease that or should I increase it? I should increase it, right? So that's false. If you swing wide to the left before making a right turn, another driver may try to pass you on the right. Is that true or false?
True.
It's true. Yep. What's a hazard? Yeah, could be any number of wider range of answers here. It's basically any road condition or a road user that's possible danger. Okay? Any road condition or another road user that is a possible danger. Why make emergency plans when you see a hazard? Absolutely. Hit the nail on the head. It may become an emergency, right? That's why we make that plan for. That hazard may become an emergency. What are some examples of hazards? Some of the hazards in a roadway.
Road work.
Potholes, workers, emergency vehicles, animals, pedestrians, bicyclists, impaired drivers, fatigue drivers, a lot of different things that are considered hazards on the road. So we're talking a little bit about distracted driving. I'll get done with this segment. We'll take a break. Definition. Distracted driver, anything that takes your attention away from driving, okay? Inside distractions could be radio, climate controls, eating, drinking, smoking, reading maps, all those things we typically see people do that are distracted. Outside distractions, vehicles, pedestrians, outside events, accidents, sunlight, a lot of different things that fall into that category. So many times we see distracted driving as texting while driving or being on the phone or whatever, but there's a lot of different things that can distract people away from their primary job, which is driving the vehicle. The FMCSA regulations prohibits the use of the handheld mobile phones by drivers of commercial motor vehicles and implements new driver disqualification sanctions for drivers of CMVs who fail to comply. Using a handheld device means using at least one hand to hold a mobile phone to conduct the voice communication, dialing a phone by pressing more than a single button. You may only use a hands-free mobile phone that is located close to you and be operated in license rule. Basically, it's like this. If an officer sees you in a commercial motor vehicle with a handheld phone in your hand, you're getting pulled over. You're getting a ticket. Does it matter if you're a stop sign? Does it matter? Nope. How about the stoplight? Does it matter? What if I'm backed up in traffic because there's a crash up here on the interstate and I pick my phone up and put it in my hand? I'm still operating, right, with a handheld device in my hand. You are still technically in violation. I tell you guys this, that is a 10-point hit on our CSA scores, okay? If you've got that phone in your hand, regardless of what you're using it for, listening to music, using it as a GPS, whatever you might be doing, that is a 10-point hit. They're going to multiply that times 3 because it just happened. Okay, that's going to end up being a 30-point hit on our CSA score. Besides what the fine's going to be that you're going to have to pay the ticket on. Okay, so do not have that phone in your hand when you're driving. Doesn't matter if you're at a stop sign, doesn't matter if you're at a stoplight, stopped in traffic because of a crash. You cannot have that phone in your hand. So be sure you get you a hands-free device. That is an automatic stop. If they see you like this driving by in a commercial motor vehicle, you're going to get stopped. Okay? Besides getting stopped, think about that a little further. What if you get involved in an accident? What if you have a wreck, even if it's not your fault? What if you have a wreck and you hurt somebody or kill somebody? Do you think the personal injury attorneys can subpoena cell phone records? Absolutely, it's the first thing they're going to do. They're going to find out whether or not you were on that phone. So all of a sudden, even though we weren't at fault and somebody pulled out in front of us, they're going to say, you guys weren't following the regulations. You had the phone stuck to your ear in a commercial motor vehicle you weren't supposed to. Okay? It creates way too many problems. Even talking on the phone takes away your attention from driving, okay? Even if you're not texting or you're not doing anything, it's the fact that you're concentrating on your conversation and you're thinking about your conversation, you're taking your mind away from driving, okay? So be sure we are not doing that with hands-free device. We want a hands-free device and nothing in our hands. How to not become a distracted driver. I told my daughter when she got her driver's license, she's 18 now, I said, I don't ever want to see that phone when I walk up to your car because it should be in a console. First thing I want you to do is to take the phone, stick it in your console, shut the lid, and forget about it. Because if you can see it, what's going to happen? You're going to look at it. You're going to get a text message, it's going to give you an alert, it's going to ring, something's going to happen, and you're going to look at it. So the best advice I can give all of us, not only my daughter who was 16 at the time, is to put that thing outside out of mind. Put it someplace where you can't see it or hear it, because then you won't be tempted to look at it. Turn off all of your devices. You have to use the phone as hands-free. Don't type or read text messages. Familiarize yourself with the vehicle before you drive it and adjust your controls accordingly. Clear your vehicle of unnecessary objects. Program your GPS prior to driving. No eating, drinking, reading, riding, or smoking. Okay, so there's a lot of rules to follow to not be a distracted driver. Anybody ever had that happen before? That's scary to death. That brings right up there with hydroplane and black ice. Somebody in your lane is not supposed to be, and you're not in Europe. So it's not a good thing. Watch out for other distracted drivers. Signs of distracted drivers, vehicles that are drifting in and out of the lanes, vehicles traveling at inconsistent speeds, drivers that seem preoccupied, or drivers that are engaged in conversations. So we're going to talk a little bit about aggressive driving and road rage, because there is a difference. Aggressive driving is just the act of operating a motor vehicle in a selfish, bold, pushy manner without regard for the rights or safety of others. But when we start talking about road rage, we're talking about operating a motor vehicle while trying to do harm to others by physically assaulting a driver or their vehicle. Okay, so there's, aggressive driving is kind of the step before you get to road rage, but they are two different things. So just realize that, aggressive driving versus road rage. So how do we handle those situations, and how do we keep from becoming one of those individuals? De-stress before you drive. Okay, it's the first thing that you do. I have a feeling that Steve Putnam on his way down here listens to classical music all the way down. And Paoli when he drives down here from Lafayette.
I hum.
You hum. Okay. So de-stress, whatever that means. Probably shouldn't be listening to speed metal, right? Thrash metal. That's probably not going to de-stress you. You want to de-stress yourself, give your driving your full attention. Realistic travel time. You just have to realize that it's going to take me a little longer than 40 minutes to get from Indianapolis to the Paoli office. Okay, you got to be realistic and think it's really going to take me a little while. It might take me 2.5 hours to get there. If you're going to be late, deal with it. Okay, just accept it. Don't try to push and get there. Just accept, hey, I'm going to be late. That's life. That's the way it is. Worst things can happen, and get there safely. Slow down. Maintain reasonable following distances. Avoid gestures, and be cautious and courteous. So what to do if you encounter an aggressive driver? We can't always do what we would like to do. We have to do what the responsible thing is to do. Remember that you are driving a company vehicle, and it says electrocom on the side of it. And people can find out who you are. And we do receive complaints from time to time at the office. I'm happy to say that it's not, You know, it's the exception rather than the rule. We don't hear a lot of them. But just remember that you guys, when you drive that vehicle, says electrical on the side of it, and you have electrical on your hat, on your shirt, you represent every single one of us, okay? So you have to drive that way, and you have to handle yourself professionally accordingly, because they are going to associate that fair or not fair with the entire company of electrical, because you are a spokesperson, so to speak, the way you're acting, and they're going to base their opinion off our company, off your behavior. So if you encounter an aggressive driver, we're going to make every attempt to get out of the way. Put your pride in the back seat. Okay? Don't challenge them, avoid eye contact, avoid gestures. You want to really get even with them? If you got that hands-free device, report them to the police. Here's the vehicle, here's the plate number, here's where we're at, here's how they're driving. Okay? You don't have to give your name. You can be anonymous. You can say, hey, I'm just a motorist. I want to report this to you. Or this person hurt somebody. So call and report to the authorities. If the aggressive driver gets past you and they're involved in a crash, be sure that you stop at a safe location and you report, number one, try to help the people in the crash, even the aggressive driver, as hard as that might be. But report to the police that respond and let them know what your observations were, because that might help them down the road in their investigation of how this person was driving. We're going to test our knowledge a little bit. What are some of the tips to follow so you won't become a distracted driver? What was it? You got to turn off communications. I hear over here. Anybody else?
Put it outside.
Do what?
Put it outside.
I didn't hear you.
Put it outside.
Yeah, put it outside. Get everything outside. Outside, out of mind. Don't eat, smoke, drink, any of those things, right? Watch your conversations with everybody in the car. Don't let the other passengers become a distraction. A lot of different things. Set your vehicle controls before you drive. Program your GPS before you drive. A lot of different things. So how do you use in-vehicle communications equipment cautiously? Hands-free. Absolutely. Make sure it's in close proximity. How do you recognize a distracted driver? Swerving? In and out of lanes. I heard inconsistent speeds. May appear to be conversing with passengers or eating or drinking or just not paying attention. What's the difference between aggressive driving and road rage? Aggressive is what? Pushy, kind of a disrespect or a no respect for the rights of others, the traveling rights of others. Aggressive driving is more what? Yeah, intent to do harm, absolutely. They may try to assault the vehicle, assault the other driver with an intent to do harm. Have you ever encountered an aggressive driver before where you thought, this is getting ready to go down here in a minute? Yeah, I see a lot of hands up. And sometimes my wife has been my voice of reason when I'm traveling, and I kind of get into one of those little flare-ups with other motorists, and she's like, just let it go, do the slow lane, and that's kind of my voice of reason sometimes. But yeah, it's the best thing to do. It's sometimes hard to swallow your pride, but it absolutely, eventually they're going to get those, okay? I mean, eventually they are going to get stopped, or they're going to get involved in some accident, or have something not good happen. What should you do when you're confronted by an aggressive driver? Make every attempt to get out of the way, put your pride away, feel challenged, and avoid eye contact. Just kind of disconnect from the situation and let it cool your head prevail. What are some things you can do to reduce your stress before and while you drive? Listen to music, give driving your full attention, realistic travel time, just deal with it, take a deep breath. And we are going to take a break again. You guys come back here at 10 after. All right, guys, we're jump back into it here. Talk about night driving. Obviously, there is a greater risk due to your limited visibility, due to your lack of sleep. Remember that if you're required by your DOT physical or your CDL to wear corrective lenses, you have to have those says it, then you've got to have it on. So if your CDL has no restrictions and it doesn't say you have to have corrective lenses, but your medical card is checked off corrective lenses, you have to wear your corrective lenses, right? I always recommend that guys take a look at their own license and their medical to make sure that it doesn't have one of those boxes checked, because I have seen in my previous occupation, I have seen doctors' offices make mistakes and they will check off a box by accident, like hearing aid or corrective lenses. And even though you have never had corrective lenses or a hearing aid in your life, guess what? You get stopped, your medical card says it, you're supposed to have it on. And if you don't, you get put out of service, okay? So just be sure that you know what your restrictions are and that you're living within those restrictions. Signs of fatigue, difficulty focusing, heavy eyelids, yawning. We all know the signs of fatigue, preventing. There is no substitute for sleep, okay? You're going to see some way, shape, or form that question on your test probably. It'll talk about drinking coffee or exercising or stretching your legs, or there's no substitute for sleep, okay? That's obviously going to be the best way to remedy a fatigue condition. And at nighttime also you have more drunk and drug drivers that are out driving the roadways, so there's a lot of challenges and dangers you face at night that you wouldn't typically see in the daytime. Night driving tips: adjust your speed, keep your stopping distance with your sight distance, ensure your headlights are clean and operating, use your turn signals, make sure your windshield is clean, dim your lights when you're approaching vehicles. You're going to see that one on the test right there, that next to the last one. Drive with your high beams whenever you can, okay? It's going to ask you something to the effect of, you know, yeah, do you use your, what headlights do you use whenever you can, or you'll see something to that effect. You want to use your high beams whenever possible, okay? So when you don't have approaching traffic and you're not coming upon somebody, other than that, you want to have your high beams on. And the hardest part for all of us sitting here, myself included, stop driving if you're tired. You know, we all push, and we think, okay, I'll go 20 more miles, there's a hotel, and 50 miles, I want to get through this town first, and then I'll stop. Your best just to stop. I have seen in my previous profession, fatigue drivers that were some of the worst drivers I ever saw on the road. Worse than drunk drivers, worse than high drivers. I literally remember following a lady off duty out here one night, right here in front of the office, just a couple of years ago when I was still working for the state police, and I did something I never do. I stopped her with my son with me, and I always made it a point to never stop someone with a family member in the car with me. But he was, you know, 18, 19 years old, so he was older, and I literally had to stop her before she killed somebody. She was all over the road in the wrong lane, in the grass, running people off the road. The local police department, they didn't have anyone close at the time, so I was like, all right, I'm going to have to stop this lady, because otherwise she's going to hit somebody. And exhausted, you know, sober as can be, no drugs, totally exhausted, falling asleep at the wheel. So just realize how dangerous that looks and how dangerous that can be, not only for you sharing a road with someone like that, but for yourself when you get to that point. So, man, if you're tired, there is a federal regulation called operating while ill or fatigued. Okay, there's actually a law, the federal motor carrier regulations. So if you were too tired to operate, you're just exhausted, you know, you got a new baby at home, or you didn't feel good, you're up all night, you can tell your foreman, I cannot drive today. All right, don't be afraid to do that. If you're that exhausted, to say, I can't do it, I just can't drive. And if I do drive, I'm a liability, and I'm probably going to be in violation of operating while ill or fatigue. Driving in the fall. Reduce your speed. Don't drive if you don't have to. It's one situation. You want to use your low beam lights, obviously, not your high beams. Use your four-way flashers if you think it's necessary. Use highway reflectors, avoid passing, and watch for stop cars. Let's talk about driving in the winter a little bit. Make sure your vehicle's ready. Check your antifreeze, defrosted heaters, wiper blades, window washer, tires, all those things you need to check to be ready to drive. Slowly and smoothly, that's the key two phrases right there when we're talking about winter driving. Be aware of icing, adjust your turning, your braking, and adjust your speed and your space. Driving with wet brakes. The couple of practice tests that I've taken and had questions about wet brakes on there and what to do. Just realize that watering your brakes can cause weakness, uneven braking or grabbing. So it causes some conditions your braking you wouldn't normally have. That can cause a lack of braking power, cause your wheels to lock up, a lot of different things. If you must drive through a deep puddle or high water that's standing on the road, slow down and go into a low gear and gently apply the brakes as you're going through. Once you're out of the water, you want to maintain light pressure on the brakes for a short distance to heat them up and dry them, okay? So once you come through that high water or that puddle or whatever, you're going to put a little bit of pressure on your brakes to dry them out. And when it's safe to do so, and there's no one behind you, you can make a test stop to make sure that your brakes are working properly. Driving in hot weather. The one up top will be a question. I can just about guarantee you. Check your tires. If the pressure increases, do not let air out of the tire. Okay? So if it's hot weather and you're driving, the pressure goes up your tires, let the pressure out. Why? Because when it cools off, you're not going to have enough air pressure in your tires. Check the engine oil level and the temperature. Your coolant. Never remove the radiator or overflow cap until the engine is cooled. All right, honesty check. How many people have done it? I see a couple honest people in here that have actually taken that cap off when it's not cooled. It's not a good thing. It sounds like Old Faithful's getting ready to go off and you're trying to keep it shut down with a pickle jar lid. Not a good thing. Check belts and hoses. Just some of the things you want to look for. Hot weather is stuff. So we're going to test our knowledge here. True or false? You should use low beams whenever you can. False. False. You want to use high beams. What should you do before you drive if you're drowsy? Get adequate sleep is first. Prepare your route carefully, include stopping points. Schedule your trips to drive when you're normally awake. Avoid medications that cause drowsiness, exercise, a lot of different things. The most important thing is sleep. There's no substitute for sleep. What effects can wet brakes cause? And how can you avoid these problems? Uneven grip, locking up, weakness braking power. So how do we remedy this? Okay, before we go into the water, we slow down, we lower our gear if we can. And then once we come out of the water, what can we do? Lightly apply pressure to the brakes to heat them up and dry them out. Good. True or false? You should let air out of hot tires so the pressure goes back to normal. False. Very good. False. True or false? You can safely remove the radiator cap as long as the engine isn't overheated. It's false. Okay, by the book, it is false. Railroads and mountains. Railroad crossings. I think at one time Indiana was one of the top in the nation for fatalities of railroad crossings, okay? So it's a pretty common thing. Very dangerous. The first thing you should keep in mind when crossing a railroad crossing is that always expect that a train is coming, okay? Always just have that expectation and then you'll be cautious as you cross it. Passive crossings. The way I remember passive, P for plain, that means they don't have anything. All they have is a little crossbuck sign. They don't have lights, they don't have gates, they don't have bells, they don't have all those things. Passive for plain, passive crossing is just simple. An active crossing, those are the ones that we see in towns that have all the lights, the gates, the bell going off, the whole 9 yards going on. Advanced warning signs, there's some of the signs we've all seen as you're approaching railroad tracks. There's usually signage there. There's also some markings on the roadway telling you that a railroad crossing is coming up. You should always learn one useful fact each and every day. I'm a strong believer in that. Today you're going to learn that those signs are called crossbuck signs. I did not know that. Those signs that have crosses like that, as a railroad crossing, are called crossbuck. They also designate how many tracks are present. So down there below you see it says 2 tracks. That's how many tracks are present. Obviously never race a train. Reduce your speed. Don't expect to hear a train. Don't rely on the signals. Always check anyway. Double tracks, double check. Those are just a few considerations when you're doing a road crossing. Steep crossings can cause your vehicle to hang up. Particularly if you have a low clearance trailer. You have a trailer with a livestock hauler or a car hauler or a moving van, something to that effect. Some of our trailers probably fall into that category. I know we have some that have low clearance. So those are some things you want to consider on steep road grades. Could I get hung up on it? A typical tractor trailer takes 14 seconds to clear a set of tracks. 14 seconds, and that probably will be on the test. Gentleman up here saying that it's on the test. A typical tractor trailer takes more than 15 seconds to clear a double track, okay? 14 seconds for a single track, double track, it's going to take 15 or more seconds to get across those tracks. Don't shift gears for obvious reasons while you're crossing. We talk about trailers that can get stuck on the tracks. Something happens, worst case scenario, you do get stuck on railroad tracks, obviously get out of the vehicle. Road crossings have an emergency number somewhere at that crossing that will be posted where you call it an emergency if you're stuck on a railroad track. So you want to get out of your vehicle, locate that number, and try to call them and let them know. Talk about traveling down steep grades or mountains. The most important thing, consideration, is selecting a safe speed when you're traveling down a grade, okay? So that's also probably a test question. The most important consideration, selecting a safe speed. That safe speed is going to be based on 5 things: total weight of the vehicle, length of the grade, steepness of the grade, road conditions, and weather. So that's what's going to determine what a safe speed is going down the incline. Proper braking technique. Just remember that braking should be a supplement to the braking effect of the engine. All right? That's what your regular braking is. Apply the brakes just hard enough to feel a definite slowdown. When your speed has been reduced, approximately 5 miles/hour below your safe speed, release the brakes. That takes about 3 seconds to get it slowed down to a little 5 miles/hour below your safe speed. And then when your speed increases back to your safe speed, you just repeat the process. Talk about shifting a little bit, talking about going down steep downgrades. Why shift before going down a hill? A lot of times if you try to shift after you've started down the hill, the speed will not allow you to shift gears. It can cause damage to the transmission or it just won't allow you to do it. It can also lead to the loss of engine braking effect too, so you want to do it before you start down the grade. Test your knowledge. What factors determine your selection of a safe speed when you're going down a long, steep downgrade? There were 5 things. What was it? Weight. Length of the grade. The steepness of the grade. Weather conditions. One more. Road conditions, okay? Road conditions, weather conditions, length of the grade, steepness of the grade, and the weight, total weight of the vehicle. Why should you be in proper gear before starting down the hill? Why do I? Once you start down the hill, it will be difficult or impossible to shift. Okay? It could cause damage to your transmission, and it's also going to affect the engine braking capability. Describe the proper braking technique when you're going down a long, steep grade. Yep. Apply pressure until you get 5 miles/hour below what you determine your safe speed is, and then you're going to release the brake. Once it gets above that safe speed again, you're going to repeat the process. What type of vehicles can get stuck on a railroad crossing? Low type trailers, like a livestock hauler, moving trailer, car hauler, something that's low clearance of the ground. How long does it take for a typical tractor trailer unit to clear a double track?
15 seconds.
15 seconds or more. Yep, very good. 15 seconds or more. 14 for a single. All right, driving emergencies. So we're talking about steering to avoid a crash. We're driving down the road and we have one of those unforeseen things that happen. I know one time I was in my was about the size of an end table. And things like that happen. I mean, and when they happen, you have literally a second or two to try to react and respond to it. I got lucky, I slowed down enough where it hit the front of the kind of the grill, where the hood meets the grill, and then it actually went up and went over the top. Had that thing hit the windshield about head level, I probably wouldn't be standing here teaching today, because we got to be ready for those things. Go ahead.
Does that use trip for like a pre-trip or winter?
Absolutely.
I know there's going to be moisture and stuff like that, you know, all license.
Yes, if you've had equipment, a trailer or a truck that has been parked outside and we've got a measurable amount of snow, a pretty significant amount, it is something you should go out and take a push broom, clean some stuff off, try to get it off of it, because it can cause a lot of damage and kill people. So we talk about emergencies that happen. We have literally seconds to respond to them, to try to determine the outcome. You can almost always steer to miss an obstacle more quickly than you can stop, okay? Just remember that. You can almost always steer quicker than you can stop if you're trying to avoid a hazard or emergency situation. But there are some risks involved when you steer. You want to keep both hands on the wheel in order to turn quick. Don't apply the brake and don't turn more than you need to. And the big thing is being prepared to counter steer, because once you steer hard one direction, you're going to have to counter steer to correct that hard steering action that you just did. If the car is coming at you head on, your best move is to steer to the right if possible. Why is that? There's no traffic on the right, correct? I mean, if you've got a shoulder over there, you've got a paved area, an apron on the side of the highway, there shouldn't be any traffic over there. So steering to the right is a good option. That's usually solid enough over there that the shoulder can hold you up. You can't steer right. Your best direction to steer depends on the situation, okay? I always relate a story to people that my previous occupation, I had someone in a snowstorm coming at me in my lane. I don't mean partially in my lane. I mean like we were in Europe driving on the wrong side of the road, totally in my lane. As I kept approaching this car, I kept thinking, eventually they're going to wake up and they're going to see they're in the wrong lane. It's going to be all right. Well, as I start getting really close, I start thinking, okay, they're not moving. I didn't have a shoulder, two-lane state road. All I had was a ditch. It was a straightaway, and I could tell nothing was coming, so I actually moved over into her lane, and we passed each other in opposing lanes. Totally. I was totally in her lane, she was totally in my lane. Once I stopped her, I found out that she didn't clean the snow or ice off her windshield. She had a hole about this big that she had done with her hand to see to drive down the highway, and had an ice scraper in the car. Just didn't want to get out and go and clean the windshield off. So when it talks about determine the situation, sometimes you don't like driving in someone else's lane because you're going to be in the wrong lane and you may cause an accident. But in that situation, long visibility, long straightaway, can see nothing was coming. It was the only thing that I could do. So sometimes you just got to decide what the situation is and act accordingly. You may have to drive off the road when those shoulders are strong enough to support your vehicle. If you leave the road, avoid braking. Try to keep one set of tires on the road, right? Because you want some traction, you want some grip. So if you have to go off the road, try to at least keep one set. And guys, as you guys know, how many people have been in one of those situations like this? Quick steering, quick braking to avoid an accident. It happens that fast. I mean, it's literally a reaction. You don't really have time to think a lot about it. It's just a reaction. So if you can think about these things, all the better. Returning to the road. Okay, so now we have one set of tires off the road. Let's say we've got our right set of tires that are off the road. There's a few things we've got to think about. Hold the wheel tightly, turn sharply enough to get back up onto the road. Okay? When both front tires are on the paved surface, you need to counter steer immediately. We've all heard of overcorrecting, right? Somebody tries to come back on that road and they can't get back up on the road, all of a sudden they throw themselves into a slide or into a skid and they totally lose control. So be ready to counter steer. Try to brake in a way that keeps you in a straight line and still allows you to turn if necessary. Controllable braking, you apply the brakes as hard as you can without locking the wheels. Keep steering wheel movement small. If wheels lock up or you need to steer, then you release the brake. Stab braking means that you apply the brakes all the way and you release it when the wheels lock up. As soon as the wheels start turning, you can apply brakes again. Don't jam the brakes, okay? That's easier said than done. That's the first thing we all want to do. Most hydraulic brakes fail for one or two reasons, either a loss of hydraulic pressure or brake failure. On long hills, your brakes get hot. Loss of hydraulic pressure, you're going to downshift, pump the brakes, and use the parking brake if you have to, and find an escape route. Your best hope is an escape ramp. Obviously, there's not a lot of those around here, but if none is available, use an open field or find a side road that flattens out or turns up a hill, and you need to take action as soon as you realize your brakes are out. Tire failure. How many's had a tire blowout driving down the road? That'll wake you up in a hurry. Tire blowout. Of course, the first thing we all want to do, immediate reaction, is jumping on a brake, right? It's the last thing you want to do. You don't want to be jumping on the brake. You're going to hear a loud bang, you get vibration, your steering will feel heavy. The way that you respond to it is you hold your steering wheel firmly, you stay off of the brake, and you let the vehicle just naturally slow down on its own, okay? Then you can get out and check and see what's going on with your tires or whatever the case may be. ABS, computerized system that keeps your wheels from locking up during hard braking action. So how do we know if we have ABS? Tractors, trucks, and buses will have a yellow ABS light on the instrument panel. Okay, when you turn the key to the on position, you'll see that ABS light come on the instrument panel. It usually stays on for a few seconds and then it goes off. Trailers have a yellow ABS lamp on the left side. It's either going to be the front corner or the rear corner of the trailer. And that light will come on showing you that the trailer ABS is working. On passenger cars, or like trucks, they'll have an ABS indicator lamp on the instrument panel. Use only braking force necessary to get stopped. Exception is if you drive a truck or combination with working ABS on all axles in an emergency stop, you can fully apply the brakes. Okay, so if your truck and trailer is fully equipped with ABS, you can jam on and fully apply the brake, and it will not allow you to do a total lockup and lose total control. So usually with ABS, you just brake the way you normally do. Causes of a skidding event, over braking, over steering, over acceleration, driving too fast. Drive wheel skids are by far the most common. They're caused by excessive braking or acceleration. And the way that you correct a skid is you stop braking. There it is again, stay off the brake and counter steer. So test your knowledge. Stopping is not always the safest thing to do in an emergency. True or false? True. Because you can steer faster than you can stop one time. What are some advantages of going right instead of left around an obstacle on the roadway? No traffic. Absolutely. That's shorter. There shouldn't be anything there in your way. So no traffic. What is an escape ramp? Ramp that helps you stop when you have a brake failure, right? You see it a lot of times in the mountain area, at the bottom of the downgrades. It's usually long and usually slightly goes uphill and it's covered by some sort of gravel that will slow your vehicle down and let you sink into it a little bit. If the tire blows out, you should put the brakes on hard to stop quickly. True or false? False. How do you know if your vehicle has analog brakes? Yeah, the yellow light on the instrument panel, right? There is another way you can check. We'll get into a little while later. You can actually look at the back of your brakes on the truck, and you will see a ECU, or you will see wires for the sensors coming out of the back of the brakes for the ABS that determine the braking action. So there's a few other ways you can physically look at the brake and see. But for the most part, you're going to check the indicator light on the instrument panel. When is the proper braking technique? Or should say, what is the proper braking technique when driving with ABS? Just going to use them as normal, right? If they're both equipped, the truck and trailer with ABS fully, you're going to use them just as you normally would any braking system. Use the force necessary to stop. How do analog brakes help you?
Keep the brakes from locking up.
Huh? They don't lock up. They allow you to maintain control and not go into a skid. They don't lock up. the side of the road. Was it a question on the test? Yeah. Of what to do responding to a crash? Yeah, he's saying that was on the test when he took it, was how to respond to a crash, park your vehicle out of the way, turn your flashes on, put your triangles out, do all those things. And then, first thing you're going to do is somebody's going to call the police, because if you just pull up on it, there's a good possibility nobody's reported it, all right? So if there's 30 cars stopped there already, I mean, it's pretty obvious somebody's probably called the police, but it wouldn't hurt to call anyway in case somebody has it. So you're going to notify authorities. You're going to care for the injured. You want to be very careful caring for injured, because I'm assuming that most of you folks in here are not trained as first responders or anything else. So we've got one maybe in here that is. You want to be very careful about treating the injured, because we don't want to move people. We don't know necessarily what's wrong with them. You know, they may have something going on with their spine or their neck, and the last thing we want to do is be yanking and moving them around. So just be very careful. Basic stuff. If they're bleeding, direct pressure, try to stop the bleeding, that type of thing. So try to care for the injured as best as you can. Fires, causes and prevention. A lot of fires are called post-accident, that's filled with fuel. Tires, you probably see that on your test. If they're underinflated and touching, that's a pretty big cause of fires in vehicles, and also your electrical system. Short circuits is the other one. Fuel, driver smoking, connections to the vehicle, and also cargo. If you're hauling a flammable cargo, that can also obviously cause a fire. Firefighting. You want to familiarize yourself with the fire extinguisher. Pull off the road, park in an open area. This is if your car catches on fire, if your truck catches on fire. Don't pull into the service station, obvious reasons. Notify emergency personnel. Try to keep the fire from spreading, turn off your engine. If a fire is in a cargo area, keep it closed up. Okay? What's fire need? Oxygen. Needs oxygen, right? So if it's closed up inside that trailer, we don't want to be giving it air by opening it up. A few tips on using a fire extinguisher. You guys have probably had this in some of your basic safety training for electrical, that you stay as far away from the fire as you possibly can. Aim at the base or the source of the fire. Don't aim up in the flames. Position yourself upwind from the fire. And for the test, this was actually on my practice test that I took yesterday. BC type fire extinguishers are designed to work on electrical fires and burning liquids. It does not work on combustible metals. Okay, so a BC works on electrical fires and burning liquids. Test your knowledge. What are some things to do at an accident scene to prevent another accident? Flashers, triangles.
Park far away.
Yep, there you go. Park far away. Get your car out of the way. Name 2 causes of tire fires.
Brake.
Underinflated or dual tires that touch each other. Okay? What kinds of fires is a BC extinguisher not good for? Combustible metal. Man, just pay attention. When using your extinguisher, should you get as close to the fire as possible?
Far away.
Just the opposite. You want to stay as far away from it as possible. Name some causes of vehicle fires. Do what? Crash? Yeah. Liquid spilling after a crash could be one.
Electrical.
Electrical, very good. Yeah. What else? Fuel, oil, brakes.
Insurance wire,
Do what?
insurance wire.
Insurance burn. That probably happens some too. Short circuits, electrical, flammable cargo, underinflated tires. That's there. That one is again. That's another big one. So we're going to talk a little bit about alcohol, other drugs, and driving. Alcohol affects obviously muscle coordination, reaction time, depth perception, and mechanism. Your BAC is determined by the amount of alcohol you drink, how fast you drink, and what your weight is. Just know that alcohol causes serious driving errors, such as increased reaction time, driving too slow or too fast in the wrong lane, those types of things. Drugs, law prohibits use and or possession of many drugs, okay? So you may have something that's prescribed to you and it may be totally legal and you're supposed to take it, but if on that little warning label that says you shall not operate heavy machinery or drive, then you can't operate heavy machinery or drive there on that, okay? And if you do, you can be arrested. Even though that drug is legally prescribed to you, you're not following the recommendations on what they tell you, okay? So just realize that before you drive a commercial motor vehicle. This can include prescription medication or over-the-counter if the warning label doctor advised you not to operate a vehicle. Violating the law will result in jail fines and out of services. We all know that. And we already talked about operating a commercial motor vehicle while ill or fatigued. Hazardous materials, you guys are not getting your hazardous material endorsement. I don't think anybody wants to go through that process. But you still have to know some basic hazardous material information for the general test. So we have to touch a little bit on it. Everybody should know a little bit of something about hazmat and if you can transport it or not. Hazardous materials are products that pose a risk to health, safety, and property during transport. The intent of the hazmat rules are to contain the product, to communicate the risk, and to ensure safe drivers and equipment. That right there was on the practice test. Placards are used to identify and communicate the hazard. Okay, so the reason those hazard placards are on the side of those trailers and trucks is to identify and communicate the hazard. And just know that many hazardous materials require you to have a hazmat endorsement to transport them. I have had at least a couple of calls since I've been in Electricom. They use some hazardous materials to do some testing, specifically on the gas side of things down the southeast, and we can't transport those things. We don't have a hazmat endorsed driver. We are not a hazmat registered carrier. We can't do it. So it's something we have to be aware of, that if someone asks you to haul something that's not typically something you transport, then you need to stop for a minute and say, wait a minute, we probably need to call DOT people and find out, do we need to have a hazmat placard? Do we have to have hazmat endorsement? Can we even transport this? Pretty hefty fines. You definitely don't want to get caught hauling those outside of the law. Common medicines for colds can make you sleepy. True or false?
True.
Absolutely true. Coffee and a little fresh air will help a drinker sober up.
False.
False. Some of you act like you answered that from experience. I'm going to wake you up. What's a hazardous materials placard? Yes, it identifies and communicates the hazard. Okay, to warn the other people what the hazardous material is. Why are placards used? To communicate the presence and related hazards. Talk a little bit about transporting cargo safely. How many people transport cargo on a trailer now in electric cars most of the time? Anybody pull a trailer, haul some stuff on it? Okay. We're going to talk a little bit about cargo securement, because that is part of the general knowledge test. You have to know some basic stuff. You obviously are going to be getting your Class A CDL, which means your combination vehicle, which means at some point in time you will be hauling cargo. It may just be a few pieces of pipe, it may be a mini excavator, it may be any number of things. Cargo topics, we're going to talk about inspecting cargo, we're going to talk about weight and balance, we're going to talk a little bit about securing the cargo, and we're going to talk about cargo that needs special attention. So consequences of failing to properly load secure cargo. There's some really bad things, as that picture depicts there, that can happen if we don't properly secure cargo. By FMCSA regulation, you just need to know that there is a regulation that basically says that your cargo has to be properly secured and prevented from shipping, drifting, spilling, or falling on the roadway. And that your loading must not interfere with steering or handling of the truck. The driver is responsible for inspecting your cargo, recognizing overloads, poorly balanced loads, ensuring your load does not affect your view, handling, steering, or braking. So there means that driver responsibility that we talked about earlier with pre-trip inspections. It's also the same on cargo. You're responsible for your cargo. How often do I check my cargo? Okay, this is actually a federal regulation. You will probably see this on the test. test that I took yesterday. After you start driving with cargo, in the first 50 miles, you have to stop someplace and you have to check your cargo and you have to check your security devices and make sure that everything is in order like it's supposed to be. After that first 50 miles, you will recheck it when one of these three things happen. You drive 3 hours, you travel 150 miles, or you have what's called a change in duty status. What that means is you stop to get gas, you stop to eat lunch, okay? Whatever the case is, whenever you make a stop somewhere, you'll have to check that again at cargo security. So one of those three things happens first. You either drive 3 hours, you drive 150 miles, or you have to change your duty status. You got to stop and check it again. And that is a federal regulation. You do have to do that when you're on cargo. Definitions, we talked about this a little bit earlier, but we talked about gross vehicle weight ratings and how that is value specified by the manufacturer. That's what a federal tag looks like. You all have seen that before inside the door jam. On trailer, it's going to be somewhere on the tow trailer. Gross combination weight rating is the value specified by the manufacturer if it's displayed on a federal label, or the sum of the GVWRs, or the actual weight of the combination. We talked about that earlier when we first started today. There's some scales. That's kind of what you'll see if you get weighed out here by law enforcement at the side of the road. Axle weight, that's the weight transmitted to the ground by one axle or one set of axles. Your tire load is the maximum safe weight a tire can carry. Okay, that's on the sidewall of the tire. You look at there and it tells you what the weight is, whether it's mounted in single or dual, and what your weight is for that particular tire. Suspension systems also have a manufacturer's weight capacity rating, and coupling devices also have a maximum weight capacity that they are rated to pull. Enforcement. You can be cited for overweight violations. You guys should just know that a lot of those are state violations. The feds pretty well leave it up to the states for the most part to set their own weight limits. So every state's different. Kentucky's different from Indiana on what they will allow for axle weight, for gross weight, all those different things. There are some that are federal. Tire load limits are federal weight. If you're over on your tire load limit, it's federal regulation. It will put you out of service under federal regulations. So it's different depending on where you're at. Just know that over axle weight, over your gross weight, you can be over your tire load limit weight. Over registered weight is different from Kentucky and Indiana. In Indiana, you have to register each unit to cover the weight of that unit. Okay, so for example, if I've got a truck and I think that truck will never be over 16,000 pounds, including the truck, people, and cargo, so I'm going to register it for 16,000 pounds. Okay, then I take my trailer and I say, okay, that thing will never be over 12,000 pounds. I'm going to register it for 12,000. So when you buy your plate, you register it for that weight, 12,000 pounds. Okay, so now I'm registered, covering each unit, truck and trailer. In Kentucky, you have to register the truck heavy enough to cover the weight of the truck and the trailer and all contents. Okay, so just know, you don't need enough for the test, but you guys just know that different states do it different. Okay, South Carolina is the same way. You go to South Carolina, then you've got to register that truck to cover the weight of the truck and any trailer that's pulled. Go ahead.
So if you're driving through 3 or 4 different states,
yeah,
you have to make sure that your truck is under the requirements of every state.
We just had that happen. We had an Indiana registered truck and trailer registered here out of the POA office doing work in South Carolina. It was properly registered in Indiana, which is where we registered it at. We get to South Carolina, they look at our truck plate and they say, well, that's only registered for 14,000. They weigh our truck and trailer and say, your truck and trailer is 22.5. You guys aren't registered high enough. And my argument is, and they finally agreed with me, was, hey, we registered it in our home state where our home office is in accordance with the law. There is no way that I can drive state to state and stop and buy a license plate every state I go into, or stop and buy some sort of permit. So most states will recognize wherever you register it from. Okay? To me, it would be like, you guys from Kentucky know that you don't have to register small trailers in Kentucky, like a boat trailer or something like that. To me, it would be like when I did my previous job, writing someone a ticket from Kentucky because they didn't have a plate on their boat trailer. Well, that's crazy. You don't have to have them down there, right? So you're complying with Kentucky law or you're a resident. So just know that those laws, they change in state to state. And along with that, I will say, I get asked a lot about stopping at weigh stations. States can set that on their own, who they want to stop. Okay, again, the feds kind of take a lot of hands off when it comes to weight enforcement. They let the states decide how they want to do it. My advice is this: if you're in doubt, go through the weigh station. Most of them will say, like Tennessee's, I think, says all trucks go through the weigh station. So to me, that means all of us. Okay, I mean, if you're pulling a trailer or a straight truck that's heavy or whatever, you need to go through it. They are never going to come out and chastise you for coming through their skills when you're not required to, but they will chase you down like a dog. If you go past their skills and bypass it because they're trying to hide something. So my thing is, play it safe. If you're in doubt, you pull a trailer, you come on a weigh station, just go through it. I mean, if you're not supposed to be in there or they don't want you, they're going to flip that green light, they're going to see you right through it, no big deal. That varies from state to state, but also. So a lot of those laws are based on state regulation. So just know that. Situations where legal weight limits may still be dangerous. Okay, you may be doing everything right, you may be under the load limits or the weight limits wherever you're at, and there's still a couple of situations where it's dangerous and you got to watch your weight. And that's when there's bad weather or when you're in mountain driving. You're in steep grades and you're in that type of terrain. You still got to be careful about how heavy you weigh. Love these old pictures. Balancing the weight, you got to be sure we distribute the weight. Okay. So that doesn't affect the handling or the braking or the safety of the vehicle. Poor weight balance can make the vehicle handling unsafe. Too much weight on the steer axle can cause hard steering. Overloading the rear of the truck can make the steering axle way too light and can cause unsafe steering. Too little weight on the drive axle can create poor traction. Weight load in a manner that creates a high center of gravity can cause a rollover. So you just got to be careful about balancing your weight out. Locking and bracing, as you see those boards there, there are some types of cargo, specifically things that roll. Some of the stuff that we may transport from time to time, like rolls of wire or rolls of cable, things of that nature, they require a little bit of special treatment because they do have a tendency of rolling. So a lot of times you have to chalk those types of things or brace those to keep them from rolling. So anytime you're talking about load securement, loads have to be secured 3 ways. Okay? They have to be secured by weight, they have to be secured by length, and they have to be secured by what's called commodity specific. And that means that it is a specific piece of cargo, and there are certain things that the regulations say, okay, you're hauling this, we want you to do these extra steps to make sure that it's secured. Everything has to be secured by weight and length, okay? Everything involved. Some things are commodity specific, and they have extra steps to secure them. So cargo tie downs, all loads must be secured by securement devices, chains, straps, cable, rope, based on the weight, length, and type of cargo. We just talked about that. Total working load limit of all securement devices must equal to at least half the weight of the cargo. Okay? What that means is this. If I've got 3 grade 70 chains and the working load limit, okay, what you'll see called the WLL, is 6,000 pounds for each of those chains. Okay, and I am hauling a 30,000-pound piece of equipment. How much of the piece of equipment do I have to build a hole? Half of it, right? That's federal regulation. So half of 30,000 is 15,000, right? So I have to cover 15,000. If I've got 3 6,000 chains, working load limit chains, how much does that cover altogether? It covers 18, right? 6,000, 12,000, 18,000. Am I good? I'm good as far as the weight goes. Okay, I'm covering half of that load. So you guys just remember, for the test, you have to cover half the load, half the weight of whatever the load is. Okay, so if the load's 20,000, you got to have enough securement devices on there to be covering 10,000 pounds of weight, right? And the way you figure that out is working load limits. You add those working load limits up together of the securement devices. Yes.
Don't all that stuff have to be tagged, usually shows the label delivery.
Most of them are colored.
Most of it is tagged with the working load limit. If it's not tagged, there's a chart in the federal motor carrier regulations that tells you, based on the size of it, the width of it, whatever it is, that what you have to figure that as. It's also important to know, guys, that if you use boomers and you use chains, that the old adage goes, the chain is only as strong as what? Its weakest link. So if you're using a boomer that has less of a working load limit than the actual chain does, you have to go by what's on that boomer, okay? Because that is the weakest link. But to answer your question, if it's something that's unmarked, securement device, a lot of the times if it's like a strap, an nylon strap, you can measure it. The book has a chart that tells you what the working load limit for that particular securement device is. Also understand that all securement devices have to be adjustable. We had a trailer pull in here, not one of ours, it was from a vendor that delivered a piece of equipment, and it had two of the securement devices that weren't adjustable. Okay, so you guys need to understand what's going to happen is when you're inspecting and they're checking the securement devices, if you have something that's loose, damaged, or it's not adjustable, they're going to pretend like it's not even there. Okay, you totally lose that securement device because it's loose or it's damaged or it's not adjustable. You're going to just act like it's not there. So if you've got two securement devices on this piece of cargo and it was required to have two and they're both loose, guess what? When they figured it out, you didn't have any securement devices on it. Those don't count. Okay, so just know in weight, you got to cover half your weight. For length, for the most part, know this for the test, this was on my practice test from Indiana yesterday. Cargo must have a securement device for every 10 feet of length. Okay? An additional strap must be added in the absence of a bulkhead or a friction mat. Okay, the bulkhead is, if I had a laser pointer, I can show you. This flatbed trailer, the bulkhead will have a wall up there at the front of that flatbed trailer. Okay, that's to keep cargo from shifting in the forward position. If you are hauling something that does not have that bulkhead, it's just like that flatbed trailer, okay, then you have to have a strap for every 10 feet of length of what you're hauling. And then you have to put on what's called a penalty strap. Okay, you're being penalized because you don't have a bulkhead or you don't have some sort of friction mat to keep something from sliding. You have to add a strap. Okay, so let's say that I've got a 40-foot piece of cargo. I would have to have how many straps right off the bat? I'd have to have 4 right off the bat, right, to cover 10 feet sections. That's 40 feet. But then let's say I don't have a bulkhead. Now how many straps do I have to have? 5. I've got to add that penalty strap, and I've got to have 5 straps on that piece of cargo. So just remember for the test that for the most part, for every 10 feet, and then you have to answer the question, do I have a bulkhead and a friction mat, or do I not have a bulkhead and a friction mat? And I'll have to add one if I don't. Tie downs have to be tight, attached to the vehicle, free of defects, and adjustable. Another thing you want to remember about tie downs, this is just for your information. This will not be on the test, I doubt very seriously. When you guys start strapping stuff down, if you've got a 6,000-pound working load limit strap, and you take it from one side of the trailer, and you go over the cargo, and you can wrap around it, or go over it, whatever you want to do, and you go to the other side, you went fully across the width of the trailer, you follow me? You get full credit for that 6,000-pound working load limit. But let's say that I start on this side, and I go up, and I loop around the cargo, and I come back to the same side. I've traveled how much in width? Half. So how much credit do I get? Half credit, okay? If I go up from this side, and I attach it straight to the cargo, I've traveled half the width, so I get what? Half credit. You need to remember that, because when you start putting the straps on, if possible, you want to go over the cargo and go to the other side. Now sometimes, that's not possible. Sometimes that piece of cargo, like an excavator or something, is equipped with the rings on the corners, and then you might just have to go on that side. It's going to be worth half, okay? To get full credit, you've got to go fully across the width of the trailer. That will not be on the test, but I just want to make sure that before you guys start hauling stuff, that you know that. Okay, there are 2 basic reasons for covering cargo. You see cargo sometimes it's tarp like that, a lot of times it's metal, it's steel coils or whatever. It's to protect people from spilled cargo, and it's also to protect protect the cargo from weather. And that was on my practice test. So just remember this, protect the people from spilled cargo, protect the cargo itself. Drivers should occasionally check their cargo, obviously. Sealed loads, you will never have to haul sealed load as long as you work at Electricon. If there may be a question on the test, just know that sealed loads are typically something that's carried by a train or by a ship, and that when that load is sealed, that as a driver, you're still responsible for weight. You need to make sure that your axle weights aren't over, that your gross weight's not over, and that's mainly the thing in order about sealed load. What 4 things related to cargo are drivers responsible for? I'll give you guys this one, it's kind of tricky. Inspecting your cargo, recognizing overloads, knowing it's secured, and knowing that your cargo does not permit access to emergency equipment. How often must you stop on the road and check it? 50 miles and then when?
3 hours or 150 miles.
3 hours, 150 miles, or change the duty status. You got it. How is the gross combination weight rating different from the gross combination weight? Anytime you see gross combination weight, that's not a rating, right? It doesn't have rating in there. That's actual weight. Anytime you see GCW, gross combination weight, you're talking about asphalt weight. What's that thing weigh as it sits? When you start talking about weight ratings, you're talking about adding the gross vehicle weight ratings together to get a combination. In 2 situations where legal maximum weights still aren't safe.
Bad weather.
Bad weather. Mountains. You got it. Bad weather and mountains still may not be safe. What can happen if there's not enough weight on the front axle?
It'll not turn.
Cause your steering to float, right? Dangerous steering. What's the minimum number of tie downs for any flatbed load?
1 strap for every
I
10
thought that
pounds.
was kind of a silly question. Basically, 1 securement device for every 10 feet. Okay, but it's also going to depend on what? You got a bulkhead or a friction mat. So, but for the most part, it's going to be 1 securement device for every 10 feet of length if you see that question again. What's the minimum number of tie downs for a 20-foot load?
32.
What's the minimum number you're going to have?
2.
2. You're at least going to have 2, right? You may have to have 3. You're going to have 2. Why do we cover, what's 2 reasons for covering cargo on an open bed?
Protecting the cargo.
Protect people, protect cargo. What do you have to check before you transport a sealed load?
Make sure the weight regulation.
That's it. Axle weights, gross weight, you gotta make sure that your weights are still good. Guys, we're gonna take a break. All right, guys, we're going to get started here on air brakes. How many people in here are familiar with air brakes? Okay, to answer a myth, you do not have to have a CDL to operate an air brake vehicle. Okay, some of you may drive a vehicle now, or maybe you have. You can drive something that not CDL required that has air brakes without CDL. All right, but when you do start driving a CDL required vehicle, you are going to have an air brake endorsement to operate an air brake CDL required vehicle. So we're going to talk a little bit about air brake systems. This seems to be one of the harder parts, one of the harder tests for guys to pass. Again, you're taking 4 tests. You're taking the general knowledge test, combination, air brake, and tanker is what I recommend. This seems to trip people up the most. So air brake systems are a little different. If you're not familiar with them, you might want to spend a little time in the book, studying them a little bit and learning a little more about them. There's some good helpful stuff online that talks about air brake systems also. But we're going to cover air brake systems here. The good news is, in the book, the air brake section in Indiana's manual is only like 10 or 11 pages. So there's not a lot of material there for them to pull questions from. So if you really learn that 10 or 11 pages well, then you should do pretty well in the air brake part of the test.
Is this Indiana book or is it kind of covered?
It's an Indiana book, but I am noticing when I was prepping for the South Carolina class, they're a lot the same. Okay, there are very few differences in them. Very few. So you're probably going to find the same thing with the Kentucky manual. It's going to be probably really close to the same. Basically what happened is the feds came out with what has to be tested to get your CDL, but they also told the states, you can add this is the minimum you got to do, but you all can add your own little stuff too. Most of them just stick right to it, okay, so most of it's going to be the same. Air brake system parts, we're going to talk about the parts of the system. We're going to talk about dual air brake systems, inspecting air brakes, and last of all but not least, we're going to talk about using air brakes. So braking functions of an air brake system. You have different parts that have different functions. There's three different parts. There's the service brake system, which applies and releases brakes when you use the brake pedal. Okay, that's your service brakes. You've got the parking brake system, which applies and releases the parking brakes when you're using the parking brake control. And then you've got the emergency braking system. That uses parts of the service and the parking brake systems to stop the vehicle in a brake system failure. And you can see I put a little diagram in there. There's lots of stuff online you can go in and look at. It kind of dissects. It tells you the different parts of the air brake system. The air compressor does exactly what an air compressor does. It generates air. It pumps air into your storage tanks. Okay, you have storage tanks on your truck and trailer, and that compressor is what generates and pumps the air into those tanks. It's connected to the engine through gears and a belt, and sometimes you have to check the oil on or have an oil check on it. Air compressor governor. Okay, a governor controls when the air compressor pumps air. When the air tank pressure rises to the cutout level, which is around 125 psi, then the governor will stop the compressor from sending up more air. When the tank pressure falls to a pressure of 100 psi, well, then the governor will allow the compressor to pump air again. So it kind of controls the airflow from the compressor. It tells it when, hey, we've got enough air here in the air tank, we don't need any more at 125, and it kicks it in, stops it from pumping air. Or it says, hey, we're down to 100 psi, we need more air here. Then it allows the compressor to generate more air. That's what the governor does. All right, air tank drains. Problem we get with air tanks is sometimes water or oil will accumulate inside that air tank. Obviously, the water can be a problem because if we get into an environment where we have freezing temperatures, now all of a sudden we got water in the air tank, it's going to freeze up. When it freezes up, it's going to freeze up the whole system, okay? So there's drains. There's two different types. There's manual, there's automatic. Okay, most of them are automatic and they're going to do it for you. But some of them you're going to have to drain yourself. Safety valve. It's basically what it says it is. It's a relief valve, and it's installed in the first tank the air compressor pumps air into. It protects the tank and the system from too much air. So you have a relief valve, and if it does get too much air, it will release of that pressure. Brake pedal. Pushing down the pedal harder applies more pressure to the system. Pressing and releasing the pedal rapidly depletes the air in the tanks. Okay, so if you sit there and you pedal that brake pedal just on and off, you're depleting air from the tank, from the system. You're bleeding it off. Drums, shoes, and lightings. Drums are located at each wheel end. The wheels are bolted to the drums. Most of y'all know what brake drums are. Braking mechanism is inside the drum. To stop, the brake shoes and lightings push down against the drum. That produces friction, which produces heat. Just know that with any braking system, that heat can affect the effectiveness of the braking system. It can cause fade. S-cam brakes. When the brake pedal is pushed, air goes into a brake chamber. Anybody ever seen an air brake chamber before? Okay, there's clamp or roto, there's long stroke, and they're usually about yay big around depending on the size. They start all the way down to 16 and they go all the way up to 36. And they're about that big around in a chamber. So when you push the brake pedal, it applies air. That air causes the push rod to push out of the brake chamber, causes it to extend. That moves the slack adjuster, which twists the camshaft, and turns the S-cam, which causes the brake shoe to go into the drum. Okay, that's basically how the air brake works. So that chamber fills up with air, and that starts all those components in motion to cause the lining to apply pressure against the drum. pressure warning signal is required on all vehicles with air brakes, okay? Basically, when the pressure in the tank falls below 60, a buzzer and or a light will go off called a low air warning device that tells you that your air is getting low, that you're below 60, okay? When you guys do the skills test, you'll be required to show the instructor that you have a low air pressure warning device. We're going to talk about how you're going to do that, okay? You're basically going to feather the brake pedal when it gets below 60, then the buzzer's going to go off, the light's going to go off, and you show you have a low air pressure warning device. If you're ever stopped and inspected by a police officer, you will also be required, depending on what type of inspection they do, if they do a full inspection, you'll be required to show you have a low air pressure warning device. So just remember that if it's below 60, that's going to cause that warning mechanism to go off and tell the driver you're getting low on air. Pretty good cutaway of a spring brake chamber. All trucks have to be equipped with emergency and parking brakes. They've got to be held on by mechanical force because air pressure can eventually leak away. Spring brakes are used to meet this need. When driving, the spring brakes are held back by air pressure. If the pressure is removed, the spring is released. Okay, that's how this works. See that spring right there? It is under incredible pressure. Okay, if this thing ever came through the spring brake chamber, it would literally take your head off your shoulders. Okay, very dangerous under extreme amount of pressure, big spring. It's being held squished, if you will, or compacted by air in that chamber. That's what's holding that spring in the position it is. So what happens is if we lose air all of a sudden for whatever reason, let's say we just release the air from the chamber, or we have an emergency and we lose air, the air goes out of the chamber and allows that spring to do what? Push out. And then by pushing out, what does it do? It applies the parking brake. Okay? That's how the whole braking system works. Before you had the modern things that we have now, that spring was held into place by air. Well, what happens is once all the air is depleted, is gone out of the tanks, you've now lost your parking brake. Okay, so you see a lot of older trailers, older tractors, where they chalk the wheels when they park it. That's because eventually the air is going to bleed out of the system. They're going to lose their parking brake, and it can roll. All right, the newer ones, like what you all are going to be driving, that's how it works. The spring contracted, and the air goes out of it, and actually causes the brake to set. Front wheel braking. It's good under all conditions. Okay, tests have shown front wheel skids from braking are not likely even on ice. Okay, so that's usually not a problem. The steer axle braking is usually not a problem as far as causing a skid. So let's test what we just went over here in the last few slides. How come air brakes have to be drained?
Because of oil and water.
Water and oil. Okay, that's why the tanks have to be drained for. What is a supply pressure gauge used for?
The pressure in your trailer. No, the pressure in your trailer.
To tell the driver what the air pressure level is, right? To tell them if, hey, we don't have enough air, we're getting low on air, might indicate to them they have a leak in the system. All vehicles with air brakes must have a low air pressure warning system. True or false? True. 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 You have to have a buzzer and or a light. What are spring brakes? Yep. When the air leaks out of the chamber, the spring is released and it sets the parking brake. Okay? That's what the spring brake does. Front wheel brakes are good under all conditions. True or false? True. True. How do you know if your vehicle is equipped with ABS? You guys want to talk about
The yellow light.
The light and what else?
The wires coming out of
The wires coming out of the brake itself. Yep. ECU.
I was reading right here, it says, tractor code, every built model has one person 97, and other brake vehicles were required to equip it, but after that made, before, they didn't have that.
That's right. Yep. Yep. There was a date there, March 1st, 1997, I think it is.
Yeah, 97, and then.
They're required, everything manufactured after that's required to have ABS. So if you're driving a vehicle after that, technically it's supposed to have. Okay, what a dual air brake system is, most tractor trailer combinations have a, what's called primary and secondary. Okay, so you have another air brake system that's running parallel with the one you're using, okay? You only have one set of controls typically, but everything else is there's a secondary. And why? In case the primary would fail or there would be some issue, you still have a secondary system. So I'm not sure if our test truck has, do you know if that's primary and secondary or not? It may have, you may see two air gauges basically, don't get confused, or you may see one air pressure gauge, it's got two needles in it a lot of times. That's a primary and a secondary reading it's giving you. There are two systems running, okay? One set of controls, everything else is duplicated in case the first one fails. That's what a dual air brake system means. So just so you know, primary, secondary, what the difference is. During your step 5 of your walk-around inspection, I'm going to talk a little bit about checking slack adjusters. This is more, you might get a question on this on the knowledge test, but a lot of this is for your skills test that you'll have to go over. Question? Okay. A lot of this you will have to go over during your skills test, your hands-on, your walk-around. Just know that park on to check your slack adjusters, you park on level ground, chalk the wheels, or release the parking brakes. Pull hard on each slack adjuster and adjust if the slack adjuster moves more than 1 inch where the push rod attaches to it. So that's how you check your slack adjusters. Checking your brake drums, your linings, and your hoses. When you do your walk around, you'll be back by the rear tires. And part of your walk around will be to check brake drums, linings, and hoses. You're going to check the drums for cracks, check linings for loose. One of the worst things that can happen inside your linings is become saturated or contaminated with grease or oil. As we all know, the brakes are working off of friction. So now the friction has been reduced because we have some sort of lubricant in there between the linings and the drum, and it can affect your braking. Check your linings for thickness. Check your hoses to make sure that they are not worn and they are not leaking. Test your low air pressure warning system. Again, you'll have to do this for the skills test. You're going to shut the engine off when you have enough air pressure so that the low air warning signal is not on, which happens at how many PSI? 60. Turn electrical power on and step on and off the brake to reduce the air tank pressure. Okay, so basically you're not going to start the vehicle, but you're going to turn the key to the on position and you're just going to flutter that brake pedal, just on and off, on and off. Okay, you're going to bleed air out of the system. Low air pressure warning signal should come on before the pressure drops to less than 60, okay? That low air pressure warning buzzer and or light will come on. Reduce air pressure by pressing on and off the pedal. This is checking that your spring brakes come on. The tractor protection valve and parking brake valve should close when the air reaches 20 to 45. Spring brakes should come on. We're going to talk a little bit about the tractor protection valve and what it does. There is a safety mechanism in an air brake system that's on the power unit on the tractor called the tractor protection valve. And what it does is if you would have a breakaway, say the trailer would, the air supply would break away, or your hose would be cut, or your hose would tear apart. What it does is when your air depletes to a certain amount in your tractor storage tanks, that valve closes. Okay, it doesn't allow any more air to go to that trailer. Okay, so now you've lost your air to your trailer, but you still have brakes on your truck. You follow me? Because that protection valve will kick off and it will make sure that you don't totally deplete all of your air. So during your walk around, they may actually ask you to show me how the tractor protection valve works or that it does work. And what you're going to do is you're going to flutter those brakes down to where it gets 20 to 45 PSI, and then that tractor protection valve should pop and the valve should pop out. Okay? Just remember, any time that you pop the valve out, you have cut air out from the trailer. When you push the valve in, you have applied air in to the trailer. It's the best way to remember. But they may ask you to check that tractor protection valve to make sure that it's working. And it's important that it does work. It's actually an out-of-service violation. If you get inspected out here to the side of the road and your tractor protection valve does not work properly, they will park you till it's fixed. Okay? It's pretty critical. It's got to work. That ensures that your truck will not run out of air so you can't operate your brakes. Checking the rate of air pressure buildup. Ensure the engine is at operating RPMs. Your pressure should build from 85 to 100 psi within 45 seconds in a dual air system. Okay, so you're checking the buildup to make sure the air is building up the way it should. 85 to 100 is 45 seconds. In single air systems, your pressure should build up from 50 to 90 psi within 3 minutes with the engine at idle speed. Okay, that's in a single air system. Most of them are going to be primary, secondary, and dual air system. Testing your air leakage rate. With a fully charged air system, again, typically 125 psi, you're going to turn the engine off. You're going to release the parking brake, okay, which means you're going to push in the parking brake valve. You're going to time the air pressure drop. The loss rate should be less than 2 psi in 1 minute for a single vehicle, and less than 3 psi in 1 minute for a combination vehicle. 2 for a single, 3 for a combo. Again, testing our air leakage rate when applying brake. With air pressure built up to the governor cutoff, 120 to 140, shut off the engine, shock your wheels, and release the parking brake and the tractor protection valve for combination. Fully apply the foot brake for 1 minute. Check the air pressure to see if it drops more than 3 psi in 1 minute for single vehicles and 4 psi in combination vehicles. If the drop rate exceeds those limits, what's that mean? You've got an air leak, right? Somewhere it's leaking off more air than what it's supposed to be leaking off. And you've probably got a leak someplace that needs to be located and repaired. So now we're going to talk about testing your air brakes. Your parking brake, you're going to stop the vehicle, put the brake on, and gently pull against it in lower gear. Your service brakes, which are your brake pedals, okay, that's what happens when you apply your brake pedal. You're going to wait for normal air pressure, release the parking brake, move the vehicle forward slowly, about 5 miles an hour, and apply the brakes firmly using the brake pedal. Note any pulling to one side, unusual feel, or delayed stopping action. So that's how we're going to test our service brakes or our foot pedal brake. Test your knowledge. What's a dual air brake system?
Primary and secondary answer.
Yep. It means that we have another air brake system running alongside of our primary, which has everything the same except for you only got one set of controls, right? What are the slack adjusters? The slack adjusters are attached to the push rods, and they determine how much braking force is applied, basically, okay? Based upon when that push rod moves, your slack adjusters are supposed to automatically, most of them are automatic, they will maintain that braking ability for you. How can you check slack adjusters? We talked about that.
Move more than an inch off the push rod.
Yeah, if they move more than an inch off the push rod, you can actually get under there, you park on level ground, chalk the wheels, release your parking brakes, and you're going to pull hard on each slack adjuster to check for movement. You guys will learn those things on the walk around practice, okay? So if you have to perform that in your skills test, you know how to perform them. It's really easy. How can you test low pressure warning devices or warning signals?
Push the brakes to the left.
Do what? Very good. Drain your tanks. Okay, you're gonna shut off the vehicle. You turn the key to the accessory position, and you're gonna start just pumping your brake pedal, right? You're gonna just watch that air pressure needle going down, down as you're stomping. By the time it gets to 60, you should have a buzzer or a light come off. Either or both. The test truck have both? Do you know?
Oh, I've seen the truck.
Okay. I think the test truck has both of them, so. Shut the vehicle off when you have enough air pressure, which is going to be around 125. Turn the key to the forward position without starting. You're going to float to the brake pedal, and then you're going to make sure it comes on before it drops to 60, below 60 psi. How can you check that the spring brakes come on automatically? How does that spring brake come on when what happens? When there's no air in the chamber. How do I get rid of air? I deplete it, right? Pump it down. If it's a trailer that I'm wanting to test the spring brakes on, I can cut air to the trailer, right? How do I do that? Pull the valve out, right? That takes air out of the trailer. That's the way I remember it. Continue to reduce your air pressure by stepping on and off the brake. Parking brake should pop out when the air falls between 20 and 45. What that means is your spring is extended because the air is out of the chamber. Maximum leakage rates. I would spend a little time on these. To me, these are a little confusing, okay? So you're testing leakage with the vehicle sitting and not doing anything to it, but you're also testing leakage when the pedal brake is applied, okay? So you're testing leakage two different ways to see if you've got an air leak. Less than 2 psi in 1 minute for single vehicles and less than 3 psi in 1 minute for combo vehicles. The next one is your brake application testing. We talked about holding the brake pedal down. The limit for single vehicles is 3 psi in a minute and 4 psi in 1 minute for combination vehicles. That's how we'll test our leakage rates. Using air brakes. Heat may cause brakes to fail or fade. Don't forget that. Heat is the primary cause of brake fade. The use of air brakes on long and or steep downgrade is only a supplement to the braking effect of the engine. So we've heard that before today. If the low air pressure signal comes on, stop and safely park your vehicle. There may be an air leak in the system. Okay, spring brakes engage between 20 and 45 psi. Anytime you park, use your parking brake. You may see the question on a test, if you're just leaving for a short period of time, do you use your parking brake? Yes, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're getting out of the truck for whatever reason, stretch your legs or whatever you're going to do, you have to set the parking brake. Drain air tanks at the end of each working day. If your air tanks have a manual drain, you need to make sure that you do that at the end of each working day, that you drain those air tanks and get rid of any oil and water and then builds up inside the tank. Why should you be in the proper gear before going down a hill? You guys remember that from earlier?
Because you won't be able to gear down.
Yeah, you might not be able to shift, right? It may be difficult or impossible to shift once you start down the hill. It's also going to affect the engine braking effect if you try to do that when you're going down a hill. What factors can cause brakes to fade or fail? You what? What can cause your brakes to fade or fail? Heat was number one, right? How about an air leak? Could that cause it? Yeah. The use of brakes on a long, steep downgrade is only a supplement to the braking effect of the engine. Is that true or false? True. That's true. If you are away from your vehicle for only a short period of time, you do not need to use the parking brake. True or false? That's false. How often should you drain your air tanks?
At the end of every workday.
Yep. How should you brake when you drive a tractor-trailer combination with ABS?
Normally.
As normal, right? Apply the brake as needed. You still have normal brake functions if your ABS doesn't work. True or false? It's true. Yeah. You still have normal brake function. You can still stop. It's not going to prevent it a lockup, right? That's what the ABS does. It prevents you from locking them up. Combination vehicles. Some topics we're going to cover is combination vehicles, combination vehicle air brakes, analog brake system coupling and uncoupling, and inspecting the combinations. More than half of truck driver deaths and crashes are the result of rollovers, all right? Very dangerous when you're talking about combination vehicles and loading and cargo. Due to the high center of gravity, fully loaded rigs are 10 times more likely to roll over than an empty one. Two things to prevent rollovers. Keep cargo close to the ground and drive slow around turns and corners and curves. Rearward amplification causes the crack the whip effect. You guys won't be pulling doubles or triples, obviously, but for this just know that the rearmost trailer has the highest likelihood of rolling over. Okay, so if you were pulling doubles, then that far rear trailer would have the highest risk of actually rolling over because of that whip effect. Just realize that your trailer is going to handle a little bit differently when you're pulling a trailer. Always steer gently and smoothly and avoid quick lane changes. Brake early. Lightly loaded combinations take longer to stop. We talked about full loaded vehicles versus empty vehicles, right? The empty ones are going to take longer to stop. Wheels are easier to lock up on lightly loaded combinations. Allow plenty of following distance and look far ahead to avoid sudden stops. Jackknifing, we've all seen that before. Have you been involved in one? Honesty check here. Nobody, it's going to do it. I've got one in here, a couple, 2, 3.
I heard of video.
Do what?
I heard of video.
Oh man, I didn't do it. Jackknifing is caused by trailer wheels locking and the trailer swinging around. Kind of like what you see in the picture there. More likely to happen when the trailer is empty or lightly loaded. To stop the skid, most important thing is early recognition. Use your rears. Realize that your trailer is starting to skid and something's going on back there. Stop using the brake so you can regain traction. Do not use the trailer hand brake. Remember, the brakes in the trailer that caused the skid in the first place, so you wouldn't want to use the trailer hand brake. Talk about turns a little bit, turning right. When a vehicle goes around a corner, the rear wheels will follow a different path from the front wheels. How many people learn that lesson the hard way? I'll keep my hand up. This is called off-tracking or cheating, okay? So the fact that your trailer will travel a different path than your truck does is called off-tracking or cheating. Longer vehicles will off-track more. Steer the front end wide enough around the corner so that rear end doesn't strike anything as it comes around. Backing with the trailer. You always turn the wheel in the opposite direction that you want the trailer to go. Ultimately, we would like to try to position the rig so that you can back in a straight line, right? I mean, it's a lot easier if you can position it where you go in a straight line versus trying to angle it or taking a different path to get into where you're trying to park. If you must back on a curved path, back to which side? Driver's side. You learned that earlier, right? Because your visibility is better. You want to try to back to the driver's side if you can dictate that. So backing with the trailer, you want to look at your path, look at your line of travel before you start. Get out and check your clearance. Use your mirrors. Back slowly, as we talked about earlier. That helps you make corrections. Correct drift immediately. As soon as you see your trailer drift, correct by turning the top of the steering wheel in the direction of the drift. Pull forward. Make pull-ups to reposition the vehicle as needed. I don't know how Kentucky is. Indiana will give you so many what they call pull-ups, okay? So that means if you start backing up to do something and you realize, oh, I need to get positioned a little different here, you can do a pull-up. They will give you so many of those before they start counting against you. Go ahead and back
You
down.
only get one.
Huh?
You only get one pull-up.
Do you get one pull-up? Okay, so he's saying you get one. Is that Indiana or Kentucky? Kentucky and Indiana both? Okay, so you get one pull-up. So, be sure you position that vehicle right and have it lined up where you need to have it lined up. Test your knowledge. Two most important things to prevent rollover. Yeah, drive slow and keep the cargo low close to the ground, right? If you can dictate that. When you turn a sublet while pulling doubles, which trailer is most likely to turn over? Rearmost trailer. That's second. Why should you not use the trailer hand brake to straighten out a jackknifing trailer?
Because they'll just make it skid.
The brake caused the skid in the first place, right? Remember, a jackknife is caused by a skid, which was caused by locking up the brakes. So you don't want to do what actually caused your problem to begin with. You want to let it get traction. What is off-tracking or cheating? That's right. Your trailer is going to take a different path than your power unit in your truck. When you back a trailer, you should position your vehicle so you can back at a curve. Now, this is a trick question. When you back a trailer, you should position your vehicle so you can back at a curved path to the driver's side. False. False. You should not be positioning it to do a curved path in the first place, right? You want to do a straight line if you can. Now, if you did have to do a curved path, it would be best on the driver's side, though, right? What type of trailers would get stuck on railroad crossings?
So what?
Yep. Low boys, car haulers. Combination vehicle, continue here on the air brakes. Got a trailer hand valve that'll apply the brakes. It's also called the trolley valve, the Johnson bar. And just remember that, of course, the trailer brakes should only be used to test the trailer brakes. And I would add to that, you can also use it if you want to prevent rolling backwards. If you're starting on a hill, it's okay to use that trailer hand brake to start accelerating on a hill and keep them rolling. Don't use while you're driving because it may cause a skid. There's your tractor protection valve. I know every single one of you stayed up late at night was wondering what a tractor protection valve looks like. That's what one looks like. Keep air, it keeps air in the truck or tractor in the event of a trailer breakaway or if it develops a bad air leak. It's controlled by the trailer air supply control valve in the cab. The control valve allows you to open or shut the tractor protection valve. The valve will push out when the air pressure drops in the range of 20 to 45. So remember that tractor protection valve is to keep all your air from leaking out of the power unit. Should you have a breakaway or should you have a severe air leak somewhere in the trailer, it'll cut it off, which will give you braking for the truck. Trailer air supply control. You push it in to put air into the trailer, okay? You pull it out to take air out of the trailer. That valve will pop out, thus closing the tractor protection valve, and the air pressure drops into the range of 20 to 45. Trailer airlines. Every combination has two airlines. You have a service line and an emergency line. Service airline carries air, which is controlled by the foot brake or the trailer hand brake, and is connected to relay valves. Emergency airline is also called the supply line, has two purposes. First, it supplies air to the trailer tanks. Second, the emergency line controls the emergency brakes on combination vehicles. Typically, like you would think of an emergency, it's red and color. You got couplers and glad hands. Those are basically the connection points from the air supply from the power unit to the trailer. Okay, those glad hands, you got to ensure they have seals that are clean when you connect them, and you listen and you look for air leaks. That's what sends your air to your trailer. Trailer air tanks. Air pressure is sent to the tanks from the relay valves, fueled by emergency supply line air for the tractor. The air tanks provide air pressure to operate the brakes, obviously, on the trailer. And it's important to keep them free from water and oil. We talked about that. We talked about the drain valves. We talked about how frequently to empty those drain valves. Shut-off valves. They're used in the service and supply airlines at the back of the trailer. They're used to tow other trailers. Permit closing the airlines off when another trailer is not being towed. So you're going to find that at the rear of the trailer. Okay, that's the shut-off valves. That's if you were hauling another trailer as a double, then you can supply air going to that other trailer. That should be shut off if you're just pulling one trailer. Okay, that shuts off the valve, and that's when the air stops. Newer trailers have spring brakes, just like the trucks and tractors. Trailers built before '75 are not required to have spring brakes. Those trailers have emergency brakes, which work for air stored in the trailer tank. We talked about older trailers. You see people talk wheels. That's because the air is eventually going to bleed out of the tank, and they're going to lose the parking brake. So that's kind of what we're talking about there. The ones you guys will be operating are obviously, unless you make somebody really mad and make you pull a 1974 trailer, you're going to be operating one that's going to have spring brake chambers. Why should you not use the trailer hand valve while you're driving?
Cause a skid.
Cause a skid, right? You can't control how firmly those brakes are applied, but that hand valve may cause a skid. Describe what the trailer air supply control does.
Supplies air from the truck to the trailer.
Air supply control. Remember the one we talked about the very back? Controls the tractor protection valve, push in to supply the trailer with air, and pull it out to shut the air off, and set trailer emergency brakes. Okay, so that valve is going to be right there on your dash. Okay, you're going to pull it out to take air out of the trailer. You're going to push it in to pump air into the trailer. All right, so it controls the tractor protection valve. Describe what the service line is for. Carries air, which is supplied with the foot brake and hand brake. Service line is connected to relay valves, which allow the trailer brakes to be applied quickly. What's the emergency air line for? It supplies air to the trailer brakes and controls the emergency brakes. Why should you use chocks when parking a trailer without spring brakes? The air is going to bleed off, right? If it's that pre-1975, it doesn't have to have spring brakes. It's being held in place by air. Eventually that air is going to bleed off. You're going to lose your parking brakes. Where are shut-off valves? Rear of the trailer. Yep, rear of the trailer. That's if you're going to hook into a tandem or pull two trailers. Those are in the rear. We're going to talk about trailer ABS a little bit. All trailers built on or before March 1st, 1998 are required to have ABS. Trailers equipped with ABS will have a yellow light on the left side, either the front or rear corner. We talked about how to check to see if you have an ABS without using the instrument panel light or without using the lights on the outside of the corners. You can check the back of the actual brakes for the ECU and the wheel speed sensor wires. ABS only activates when wheels are about to lock up, and when operating a rig with full ABS, brake as you normally do. Coupling and uncoupling. Proper coupling is critical to safe operation and varies depending on the coupling type. Position the truck tractor directly in front of the trailer. Back slowly, don't hit the trailer. Check the trailer height. If the trailer is too high, it may not couple correctly. So we're talking about hooking up to the trailer. Fifth wheel. Check for damage, missing parts. Check to see if the mounting tractor is secure. Be sure the fifth wheel plate is used. Check the fifth wheel is in proper position for coupling. Make sure the trailer kingpin is not bent. Back slowly under the trailer. Stop when the kingpin is locked. Make sure there is, that's a test question, make sure there's no space between the upper and lower fifth wheel. There should be zero space, none. Go under the trailer or look into the back of the fifth wheel. That's also a test question. Make sure that the jaws are closed around the shank of the kingpin. So you're going to go under and behind. You're going to make sure that that kingpin is locked in place on that fifth wheel. Landing gear, for those of you who don't know, that's the structure there at the front that allows the trailer to sit unhooked, to sit upright. If that's equipped with a landing gear, you always raise the landing gear all the way up before driving the vehicle, okay? So don't just put it part of the way up, through all the way up. What might happen if the trailer is too high when you try to couple?
And this is over your.
Might not couple correctly, right? It might not hook up correctly. After coupling, how much space should you see between the upper and lower fifth wheel?
None.
No space. You should look into the back of the fifth wheel to see if it is locked onto the kingpin. Is that true or false?
True.
It's true. To drive, you need to raise the landing gear only until it just lifts off the pavement. True or false?
False.
How do you know if your trailer is equipped with analog brakes?
The light, the wires to the sensor.
Yeah, we beat that dead horse for a while, right? You're looking for the lights on the trailer, left side of the corners, instrument panel, or you can also see wiring or ECU coming out of the brakes. Brake check for a combination vehicle. Checking airflow of the trailers. Use the tractor parking brake or wheel chocks to hold the vehicle. Check air pressure, then push in red trailer air supply valve. Open emergency line shut-off valve, rear of the trailer, listen for slipping air. So basically, you're going to go to that valve we talked about about at the back of the trailer, or if you want to hook up to a double or a triple, you're going to open that. We're going to punch in the trailer supply valve, which is going to put air where? Into the trailer. We're going to push it in, it puts air in the trailer. So you should hear or feel air coming out of that back valve, right? That means that you're getting air all the way through the trailer. Testing the tractor protection valve, charge the trailer, air brake system, push the air supply valve in, shut the engine off, press the brake pedal on and off to reduce air pressure in the tank. So the air pressure falls to 20 to 45. That tractor protection valve should punch out. Charge the trailer air brake system and check that the trailer rolls freely. Stop and pull out the trailer air supply control, place it in emergency position. Pull gently on the trailer with the tractor to check that the trailer emergency brakes are on. So you're going to pull that trailer supply valve out, which is going to take air out of the trailer, right? And that's going to set the emergency brake, and then you're going to creep forward a little bit, and those trailer tires should not be turning. That brake should be set. Testing the trailer surface brakes, check for normal air pressure, release the parking brakes, move the vehicle forward slowly, and apply the trailer brakes with the hand control. You should feel the brakes come on. Which shut-off valve should be open and which closed? All valves from front to rear of the trailer should be open. Emergency line shut-off valve at the far rear of the trailer should be closed. How can you test that the air flows through all the trailer? You open that rear valve in the back of the trailer. Yep. Push your trailer supply valve in, which puts air into the trailer, and then go back and feel and listen to see if there's air coming out of that open valve. Test the tractor protection valve.
Push the air supply knob in.
Yep, push the knob in, and then you start doing what? Pumping the air, pumping the brake pedal, right? And you're going to get it down to between 20 and 45, and it should punch out. How can you test the trailer emergency brakes? I just gave you the answer. Charge the trailer air brake system, check that the trailer rolls freely, stop and pull out the trailer air supply. When you pull out, you're taking air out of the trailer. Pull gently on the trailer with the tractor. Make sure the tires aren't turning on the trailer. How can you test the trailer service brakes? Check for normal air pressure, release the parking brake, move forward slowly, and apply the brakes. Hand control if it's equipped. You should feel the brakes coming on the trailer. All right, last section. Tank vehicles. Somebody who took the test, how many questions were on the tank vehicle part? Did anybody take that one yet? Guys, that's a very short segment in the book. You're looking there, I think it's 3 pages, so there's probably not going to be a lot of questions on it, which is one of the reasons I recommend you guys take a video, because I don't think there's going to be much on that test. Basically, you need a tank endorsement. If you're hauling in liquid or liquid gas in a tank having individual rated capacity of 119 gallons or aggregate rated capacity of 1,000. Okay, so if you've got a tank that's 119 gallons and it's temporarily or permanently affixed to that unit, that truck or trailer, or if you add up the tanks that you have on that truck or trailer and it's over 1,000 gallons, in aggregate, then you're going to need a tanker endorsement. Okay, that's what a tanker endorsement is for. Most important item to check for when you're talking about tanker is leaks. Find leaks, obviously you're not going to operate that vehicle. Check special purpose equipment, vapor recovery kits, ground and embalming cables, emergency shut-off systems, and built-in fire extinguishers. Special equipment, check your regular emergency equipment for your vehicle. The challenge of driving tank vehicles, they have a high center of gravity. Much of the weight is carried up high, and they can roll over easily. Tests have shown the tankers can turn over at speed limits posted for curves. Take curves and on and off ramps will roll opposed to speed limits. So just remember, the tests have shown basically the movement of the liquid that you're hauling in that tanker. Okay, so surge is when that's moving from side to side or front to rear and can drastically affect your steering, handling, braking of the vehicle. Bulkheads, some tanks are divided into several smaller tanks by bulkheads. Drivers must pay attention to weight distribution when you load it. So some tanks actually have compartments built inside of them where you can carry different types of liquid. A lot of the fuel tanks that you see coming in and out of convenience stores, they have different compartments, all right? They have bulkheads in there separating different types of fuel that they're transporting. If they don't have bulkheads, some of them have baffle tanks, like the one in the picture there. That means that it slows the liquid down, but it allows it to pass through. So it's got slots or a hole cut into those walls, and it reduces the surge. Okay, it doesn't eliminate it, but it does reduce it. It helps a lot with a baffle tank. And then you have what's called an unbaffled tank, also called crazy. Okay, this thing has liquid that moves freely in the entire tank. So you can imagine driving that tractor trailer and it's unbaffled and you've got all of that liquid and all that weight shifting back and forth, and what that can do to your steering, your handling, your stopping ability. You've got nothing inside to slow the liquid down. You got to drive this cautiously because of all that movement, especially when it comes to starting and stopping. You may see the term outage in the tanker endorsement test. What outage means is liquids expand as they warm up. So you've got to leave room for expanding liquid. And that room that you leave is what's called outage. Okay? So since different liquids expand at different amounts, they require different amounts of outage. So depending on what type of liquid you're hauling is going to determine how much outage you have to leave. Preventing overloads of liquids. The amount of liquid to load into a tank depends on the following: the amount of liquid that will expand, the weight of the liquid, and legal weight limits where you're operating. Safe driving rules when you're hauling liquids in a tank. Drive smoothly. Start slow, slow down, stop smoothly, negotiate curves and lane changes smoothly. Okay, slow and smooth. Controlling surge. Keep steady pressure on the brake. Brake far in advance of your stop. Slow down before curves and accelerate slightly through the curve. The posted limit for a curve may be too fast. Stopping distance. Wet roads double the normal stopping distance. Empty tank vehicles take longer to stop than full tank vehicles. We're going to test for knowledge here. Our bulkhead's different from baffles. Yep. Yep. Baffles have holes or slots. It allows the liquid to pass through, okay, but it does help you control the surge. And bulkheads are walls. It actually separates each different container. Should a tank vehicle take curves or on ramps or off ramps at the posted speed limit? No. It should go below the posted speed limit. Our smoothbore tankers different to drive than those with baffles.
The liquid moves through.
It's going to affect what? Your steering, your starting, your stopping, all those things with smoothbore. What three things determine how much liquid you can load?
The amount of liquid, weight,
The weight of the liquid,
legal weight limit.
legal weight limits. Yep, you guys got it. How much is it going to expand? How much does that liquid weigh? And what are the legal weight limits that I'm trying to stay under? What is outage?
Yeah, they got that in it, like some fuel slosh.
Outage is the amount of room that you leave for expansion, right? Because every liquid will expand differently when it gets warm. So outage is the amount of room that you have to leave for that expansion to happen. How can you help control surge?
Keep steady pressure on the brakes.
Yeah, try to avoid sudden things, right? Like hard steering or sudden stops or sudden starts. You try to do things gradually ahead of time. What two reasons make special care necessary when driving tank vehicles? center of gravity, surge. Yep, liquid movement surge. All right, guys, we are to the end. I know you're all disappointed. We're going to talk a little bit now about taking a test, and we are going to do a little practice test. Here's a group. I'm just going to bring it up on the computer, and I will say the questions out loud to you, what the answers are, and we'll just do it as a group and discuss it. A couple things I want to bring to your attention. That's the South Carolina test. There's a lot of resources online. If you will just Google free Indiana CDL test, you're going to find, I think driving test is the one that I use. You're going to find a lot of tests online. You take it free. You've got some right there.
I did download that CDL prep on my iPad over there, and it gives you there's 15 different tests on there for your general knowledge, and there's different tests for your rating combination.
Very good.
So it's actually hands-free.
Good. Thanks for sharing that. He downloaded the CDL prep I was telling you all about on his iPad. Said it's very helpful. It's free. Said there's like 15 different tests for all the different stuff, air brake, general knowledge, all this stuff. So it's a great resource. I would highly recommend it. Get on there and take some of the practice tests. Number one, I'll tell you is this. Everybody has a different learning capability, all right? Some of you all will feel like today after this class, you'll feel like I can pass this thing now. And while it's fresh in your memory, you may be better off going tomorrow or whatever the case is. Some of you in here may say, you know, I feel pretty good about this, this, and this, but maybe air brake, I need to study a little more, or combination. You may want to take a weekend to kind of look over some stuff. But a lot of this falls on your shoulders. I mean, you guys may have to do a little study on your own, highlighting that book, using the CDL prep app, some things you may have to do to prepare yourself to go in and take the test. Remember this, that when you pass the test, you're done with it, okay? So if you pass the general knowledge, you pass the combination, but you stumble on the tanker and the air brake, then when you go back and take them again, all you have to take is that tanker air brake. You're done with the other two. All right? You can take the test as many times as you need to. Okay? So don't sweat it. Don't stress out. If you don't pass it the first or second time, go back and try again. Now they will change the questions. They have a way that they mix it up, and they'll give you different questions. And you do have to wait one business day before you go back in and take it. But what I'm saying is a lot of this process is going to fall on you guys, okay? Studying, getting ready for the test, looking over the material, and when it comes down to the skills test part of it, again, a lot of it's going to fall on you. Setting up the drive time, the practice time with Jed Dillon, okay? He's got electricom email, his office is right there in the shop, you can call him. I mean, you guys will have his number, his extension, whatever you need to get a hold of him. Or if it's easier for you where you're at, if you're far from Paoli and you've got someone in your work group that has a truck and trailer and they're willing to go out and help you, then you guys can do that. Find a good parking lot where we've got permission to be, set some cones up, and kind of simulate that skills test. That book will tell you what they're going to test you on the skills test on, okay? So you do have the blueprint of what that's going to be like, and what it's going to look like, and what you're going to have to know. If you contact Jed, he can also get you a binder on practicing that walk around, which is one of the harder parts of the skills test, and it's actually a study guide that shows you what all you need to do during the walk around test. So anyway, get a lot of rest right before you take it. Don't overthink the questions, but be ready to read them 2 or 3 times, because some of them are confusing. So be ready to look at it, don't take it at face value, say I need to read that question over one more time slow. Go back over and read it again. Don't get in a hurry. If none of the answers seem right, pick the one that seems the most right. I told you guys, if you look at some of those answers, you'll be like, well, none of those are really exactly right, but that one there is the closest thing to being right. So that's probably going to be the right answer. If you don't know the answer, eliminate the answers that are obviously wrong, and then guess at one of the remaining answers. I hate to use the word guess when taking a test, but sometimes you have to. If you can eliminate a couple of those that are ridiculous, there's no way that's the answer, now you're down to 2, I got a 50-50 shot of getting it right. You know, if I can just guess one of them, don't leave something blank. Question in the back?
You can skip one of the questions that you don't know and go on to the next one. Once you get to the very end, it'll hit back.
Okay.
One or all the questions that you skip. So if you can miss 5 and you think you're right on the mark, you can skip to the next question. And if you get to that mark at 80%, it'll pass you from there on.
take, my understanding is the Indiana test, you can do it written or computer. If they give you the written one, can you write on the test form or not? Okay, if you can write on the test form, and you look at those answers and you think two of those are ridiculous, just put a big mark straight through them. Okay, get those out of the way where you're not even considering them anymore, and then you can pick from one of the two remaining ones. If you get to a question that you're kind of sure of, but man, I'm not real sure, put a little asterisk by it or circle or put a star by it. Do something where when you're done with the test, you can go back to that question and say, maybe you've learned something now from the other questions that rattles your memory, and you can go back and say, okay, this one here, I didn't quite understand, maybe I better take another look at it. But there's a lot of little things there you can do on the test to help yourself to get to that 80%. Gentleman was telling me a while ago, the general knowledge test is 50, the combination was 20, and the air brake was 25. Did I have that right? So 20 and 25 questions. I'm going to say the tanker one's probably not, it's probably 10, 15 questions, I wouldn't think. I mean, it's only covering 3 pages of material, so it's kind of what you can expect. Is there anybody that's got any questions for me? We're going to go through a practice test here real quick. One thing that I will tell you all is follow through on this. I'm serious. Getting a CDL is going to be tougher. It's going to cost more money. It's going to cost more time once the regs change the 7th of February 2020. So I would encourage you to, I mean, you've spent some time today. Don't let this go to waste. If you don't pass it the first time, don't put it on the back burner and say, oh well, and all of a sudden it's February and you haven't done anything with it. And you know, it's not going to be good. You're going to have a hard time getting it. So I would just say to be sure that you practice, be sure that you study, and be sure that you follow through on this. It's one of those things that's easy to kind of let go to the wayside and kind of forget about it. But if you have any friends or family or anybody else you know that doesn't have their CDL, you might share with them that the regulations are going to be changing and it's going to get harder and harder to get it. All right. If you are stopped in a rest area and found to have a blood alcohol concentration of 0.02, you will be placed out of service for how long? 72 hours, 48 hours, or 24 hours? 24 hours. Very good. You should avoid driving through deep puddles or flowing water, but if you cannot, which of these steps can keep your brakes working? Number 1, gently apply the brakes while driving through the water. Number 2, press both the brake pedal and the accelerator firmly after coming out of the water. Number 3, turn on your brake heaters. Number 1, gently apply your brakes while going through the water. Whenever you stop for a break during your trip, you should 1, call in and check with dispatch, which we don't have. Number 2, check critical items such as the windshield wipers, heater, and defrost. Or 3, check critical items such as the tires, brakes, and cargo tie-downs. 3, very good. By the way, this site that I'm on is drivingtest.org. This is the one I'm on. You do not have a hazardous materials endorsement on your commercial driver's license. You can drive a vehicle hauling hazardous materials when, number 1, someone who has a hazardous materials endorsement rides with you. Number 2, the cargo will be transported less than 100 miles. Number 3, the vehicle does not require placards. Number 3, the vehicle does not require placards. There are some hazardous materials that are not placard required, and you can haul those. They're called trades of workmanship, whether it's small enough amount, like if a mechanic's got a few that might be in a container or something that doesn't require the placards on, you can haul those. Those are ship, you can haul those without license and without a hazmat endorsement. In your rear, you see a car approaching from the rear. The next time you check the rear, you don't see the car. To change lanes, you should do what? Number one, wait until you are sure the car isn't in your blind spot. Number two, ease into the other lane slowly so the other car can get out of the way. Number three, assume the car left the road and change lanes as usual. Number one, that's an easy one. Which of these statements is true about brakes? Number one, brake fade is not caused by heat. Number two, brake drums cool very quickly when the vehicle is moving very fast. Or number three, brakes absorb more heat to stop heavier vehicles. Three. Which of these is not part of the pre-trip inspection of the engine compartment? Number one, valve clearance. Number two, condition of hoses. Number three, worn electrical wiring installation. Number one. When you're driving at 55 miles an hour in good driving conditions, your total stopping distance will be number one, at least 216 feet. Number two, at least 353 feet. Number four, at least 419 feet. Number three, 419 feet.
So you're at about 55 miles an hour, takes you up to a football field.
Yes. Yep. When you're driving 55 and you're good to your total stopping distance, it says 419 feet. Which of the statements about overhead clearance is true? Remember we talked about the trucks getting stuck under the bridges and all that? One, you should assume that the posted clearance signs are correct. Two, if the road surface causes your vehicle to tilt toward objects at the edge of the road, you should drive closer to the shoulder. Three, the weight of the vehicle changes its height. Three, weight of the vehicle can change its height. Controlled braking. One, involves locking the wheels for short periods of time. Two, is used to keep the vehicle in a straight line when braking. Three, can be used while you are turning sharply. Two. It is two. How long does it take a typical tractor trailer to clear a single railroad track and a double railroad track? You might know off the top of your head. 14 seconds and 15 seconds. How do you correct a drive wheel acceleration skid? Number one, you stop accelerating. Number two, counter steer the steering wheel. And number three, apply more power to the wheels.
Counter steer.
Number one, stop accelerating. When driving in an area with a few street lights on a clear night, if you cannot see well with your headlights, you should, one, find another route. It's better lit. Two, turn your interior lights on. Or three, use your high beams when legal and keep your interior lights off. Three. Yeah. Which of the following statements is true? Number one, many heavy vehicle accidents occur between midnight and 6 a.m. Number two, most hazards are more easily seen at night than during the day. Number three, most people are more alert at night than during the day. One. Implied consent means that when you operate a commercial motor vehicle on public roads, you, number one, understand that you may now drink alcohol before driving. Number two, you consent to be tested for alcohol in your blood. Or number three, you consent to have your vehicle inspected for alcohol. Two. Implied consent means that you consent to being tested for alcohol in your blood. Loads that are over length, over width, or overweight may require one, flashing lights, two, driving limited to certain times, or C, all the above.
All the above.
All the above, yeah. Which of these is going to remember which of these is good to remember when crossing or entering traffic with a heavy vehicle? One, the best way to cross traffic is to pull the vehicle partway across the road and block one lane while waiting for the other lane to clear. Two, heavy vehicles need larger gaps in traffic than cars. Or three, because heavy vehicles are easy to see, you can count on other drivers to move out of your way.
Two.
Yeah. Which of these items is not checked on a pre-trip? Number one, amount of fuel in the vehicle. 3, whether all vehicle lights are working and clean.
Number one.
1. Yeah. All right, when driving on grades, which of these is the best choice for a safe speed? Number 1, based on your vehicle and its cargo, select a speed that is safe within the posted speed limit. Number 2, if you have a light load, go faster than you would with a heavy load. Number 3, follow the vehicle in front of you.
Number one.
Yep. What 3 things relate to cargo are the driver's responsibility? Number 1, inspecting the cargo, recognizing overloads, properly securing the cargo. Number 2, weighing the cargo, properly securing the load and delivering the cargo. Or number 3, preparing shipping papers, inspecting the cargo, and properly securing it. 1. When must you wear a seatbelt?
Always.
Yep, when you're driving C and D. If you're convicted for driving under the influence while driving a commercial motor vehicle, and this is your first offense, you will most likely get 1, at least 1 year suspension of your CDL, 2, a fine of $500, 3, probation for a year. 1. Yeah. The best drivers are those who watch and prepare for hazard. This is called being 1, offensive, 2, objective, or 3, defensive. Defensive driving, all right? When we're looking out for stuff before it happens. What are some advantages of going right instead of left around an obstacle? Number 1, you can avoid a head-on collision. Number 2, someone may be passing to the left. Or number 3, both are correct.
Both are correct.
Both are correct. That one down. Is it safe to add coolant to a coolant recovery tank or coolant overflow tank while the engine is at operating temperature? No, it is not. Actually, wait for a minute. Yes, as long as the engine isn't overheated.
While running, is that what you said?
It says, is it safe to add coolant to a coolant recovery tank or coolant overflow tank while the engine is at operating temperature?
And then words in there, right?
Yeah. And the answer is yes, as long as the engine isn't overheated. Which of these statements about managing space to the side is true? Number 1, always keep your vehicle to the right side of your lane. Number 2, strong winds make it easy to stay in your lane. Or number 3, you should avoid traveling next to others whenever possible. 3. What is black ice? 1, rain and snow mixed. 2, a thin layer of ice clear enough that you can see the road underneath. Or 3, dirty snow. Dirty snow. When driving through roadway work zones, you should 1, turn on your parking lights, 2, reduce speed only if workers are close to the road, or 3, watch for sharp pavement drop-offs. Anybody?
What'd you say?
When driving through roadway work zones, you should 1, turn on your parking lights. We know that's not true, right? Number 2, reduce speed only if workers are close to the road. Or 3, watch for sharp pavement drop-offs. 3. Absolutely. Brake fade. Number 1, only occurs with drum brakes. Number 2, can be caused by the brakes becoming too hot. Number 3, can be corrected by letting up on the brakes for 1 to 2 seconds and then reapply them. Yep. Which of the statements about certain types of cargo is true? 1, unstable loads such as hanging meat or livestock require extra caution on curbs. 2, oversized loads can be hauled without special permits during daylight hours. 3, when liquids are hauled, the tank should always be loaded completely full. 1. Yep. Which of these statements is true about warning other drivers of a stopped vehicle? 1, put out your emergency warning devices within 5 minutes. 2, keep the vehicle's taillights on, warn others. 3, move the rear reflective triangle back, the person's vision is obscured to within 500 feet. It's kind of a crazy one there. Which of these statements is true? Okay, so we're looking for a true statement about warning other drivers to stop vehicles. 3, put on your emergency warning devices within 5 minutes. 2, keep the vehicle's taillights on to warn other drivers. Or 3, move the reflector triangle back if the driver's vision is obscured within 500 feet. 3. All right, we're almost done. You do not have a hazardous materials endorsement on your commercial driver's license. You are asked to deliver hazardous materials in a blackened vehicle. You should, 1, refuse to haul the load. That's easy. Just stop right there. During a pre-trip inspection, you discover an exhaust leak or power steering leak. You should, 1, go home because you shouldn't drive a vehicle this way. 2, report the problem, make arrangements to use another vehicle. 3, note the problem and continue your route. 2. Name some suspension defects. 1, leaking shock absorbers. 2, broken leads in a leaf spring, or C, all the above. Yeah. About 14 more. No matter how small the cargo is, it should have at least 6 tie downs, 2 tie downs, and 1 tie down. Yep, 2. To help you stay alert while driving, you should 1, schedule trips for hours during which you are normally asleep. 2, take short breaks before you get drowsy. Or 3, take cold medicine if you have a cold. 2. What are 2 ways to know when to upshift? 1, use your watch and engine sounds. 2, use engine speed and road signs. 3, use engine speed and road speed. Engine speed and road speed. What effects can cause? I skipped that one accidentally. Which of these statements about speed management is true? You should choose a speed that lets you stop within the distance you can see ahead. 2, when you know your speed, it will take twice the distance to stop. 3, empty trucks always stop in shorter distances than fully loaded ones. 1. Question 40. Which of these is important to check before driving in the winter? Tires, exhaust, or both of the above? Yeah, both of the above. What should the wheel bearing seals be checked for? Leaks. Which of these statements about managing space is true? 1, smaller vehicles require more space to stop the margins. 2, when the road is slippery, you should keep much more space in front of your vehicle. 3, many accidents are caused by drivers keeping too much space in front of their vehicles. Yeah. 43, these can cause a vehicle skid. Over acceleration, not enough weight on the front axle, or both of the above. Which of these is not a good rule to follow when caring for the injured or an accident scene? 1, move severely injured persons if there is a danger due to fire or passing traffic. 2, if a qualified person is helping them, stay out of the way unless you're asked to assist. 3, allow injured persons to become chilled or overheated. 3.
So what is not to do?
Said what not to do. Don't let them,
Don't advise.
you passed. All right, is there anybody that's got any questions for me or anything I can help you guys with? If you run into snags along the way, does everybody in here have my business card? Everybody here got a card? If you don't, come and see me, I'll give you a card. And guys, like I said, the best advice I can give you is see this through, man. Don't go fail it and get discouraged and say, oh, hell with it. I mean, you actually need to carry this thing through and follow through on it, because after February, it's going to get really tough. So follow through however many times it takes. All right, guys, that's it. Appreciate it.